We want the finest wines available to humanity. We want them here and we want them now. This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 70, Spotlight on Withnail and I.
Superman.
Hello and welcome to the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 70, Spotlight on Withnail and I. I am your host this evening, Damien Hicks, and I am joined by
Brett Summers.
And I. Sorry, I'm Paul Hawkins.
Okay.
So I apologise for that.
Yeah. What was that all about?
Withnail and I.
Oh, he's been the eye.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I didn't really pick up on that. It was
Probably because it just wasn't funny.
no, it certainly needed an
I just get
explaining.
my coat.
So yeah, our odyssey, our delve into summer movies is over, and now we're into the realms of pick a film.
It's like a cult challenge.
Yeah,
Where
Yeah.
we're all challenging each other. And
Well, we've gone through the nice summer phase where everyone's like in the teenage grip of having fun, going out, getting drunk, finding girls, to Withnail and I. Completely different
and,
vibe.
we would just like to point out, some people have messaged us and said, you didn't do that film or that film. We'll probably go back to that next summer, but the
yeah.
season
Or
has
it
moved
could just
on.
randomly come up. You never know.
You never know. So
I
it's
hope-
not just because we're not doing it now doesn't mean we're never going to go back.
There's a lot of films. There's a lot of
time.
podcasts and a lot of time.
and they keep making them as well.
I know sometimes you wish they stop, especially when it comes to superhero films. But anyway, that's just my opinion.
Shut your mouth.
So how we been? Anything exciting been going on in our lives?
Been on holiday,
Ooh,
went to Ireland, see the Outlaws,
cool.
did walking.
Was there a heat wave?
No.
Oh.
Wasn't too bad. There was a bit of rain. Managed to have a barbecue in between the rain, literally. Yeah, just nice, chilled. Came back, saw some dinosaurs.
Ooh,
At the park.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, so there was a dinosaur. I don't know.
Trail? Is that what they call it?
Yeah. So
are they animatronic or is it
I wouldn't-
static?
I woun't go as far as, don't get your hopes up. They're not Disney, Don't expect them to come to life. Their heads move a little bit,
Oh, okay.
and the tails move a little bit, and there's speakers that give out some sounds. I quite enjoyed it. The kids loved it, even the eldest. And the big thing for me was T-Rex at the end, full life-size T-Rex.
I thought you meant the band played.
That would have been cool. Yeah, but at the end of it, they've strategically put
One for the
full-size
dads.
T-Rex by burger bars,
And
donut
the t-shirt
stalls,
stalls, yeah.
Yeah.
and coffee stalls. And ice
Very
They
cream.
clever.
put the product's name on everything.
Yeah, no, but it was enjoyable. And then today back to work.
Mm.
Yeah, that's looming for me too.
Yeah, so this is your last couple of days, isn't it?
Return of school, yeah.
3 months off and back for 2 weeks, and then you'll have what is it? The autumn break then.
Yeah, tell me about
About Halloween.
dinosaurs.
Hey kids, let's do a project on Halloween next. It's only going to take up 6 weeks. Then we have a holiday. Then we come back and do a Christmas
Christmas
project.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It'd be cool if it was, but
Hey kids, let's put on a video.
if I could get rid of 6 weeks.
Tell me it's not like that, Mr. Summers.
What's a video? You
I
crazy
bet,
old
I bet
man
you've still
in your
got one.
old ways.
Yeah.
Video. Man, I don't think they would even. I don't think
Well,
they
exactly.
know.
You can blend it to a science lesson as well.
Bit of history.
Vinyls come back.
Yeah, but
Cultural
vinyl,
history.
vinyl never really went away. It got more arsey.
Show
but
them
it
the
was
ring.
Still there.
Yeah.
Show them the ring and then just wave
I'm
videotapes
not allowed
around.
to do that.
Scared.
Oh, the film.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Right.
Yeah. No. Most of that probably tamed to them now. There's probably more horrific things on the internet we've not even discovered yet that
Yeah,
they've all
no
watched.
doubt.
I've seen loads of stuff on TikTok about like
Tic Tac.
Tic-tac. Shake your tic-tacs.
TikTok.
You shake your Tic Tacs at me.
About this from the dark web, and it's like that's
No,
so
it's not. It's on YouTube. If it's on YouTube, it's not on the dark web.
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like that's so fake. What? Who would believe that? But then I go into the comments. It's like, oh my OMG, this is like so incredible. How have the government been hiding this from us? It's like
They haven't.
Grow up.
They're not. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
grow up. Yeah.
If someone's talking about it in a YouTube video that your friend from down the pub or that your mum's hairdresser's sister has shared, it's not a deep
Yeah.
government secret. The truth is not out there.
Yeah.
The truth is lost somewhere between your ears. Sorry, but it's true.
That was a bit off topic.
Yeah, it was a bit.
It
Wasn't
was a bit, but hey, that's what we roll sometimes. Yeah, I'm getting ready to go back to school. I went to see Lars Fredriksson, how are we going to say it, from Rancid at the Joiners Arms in Southampton, which was a tremendous night.
Tremendous night.
Tremendous.
I thought for a minute when you said that, I had Lance from Lance Henriksen from Aliens.
Aliens.
It's like what?
Yeah.
Cool.
Didn't you know he was in Rancid? Yeah, just been chilling and that really, and yeah, it's been a nice summer that is suddenly ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Hicks. Yeah.
Not a lot, really. 2 kids. You know what it's like.
Yeah.
Can't really do a lot. Spent quite a few nights in here getting drunk, which is nice. The 2 of us. Not just me on my own. That would be a bit weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, just on your own crying.
Yeah.
I don't want to go in yet.
fits the episode theme.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Right then.
It's enough chit chat.
That's enough chit
Yeah.
chat. Let's get down to
Talking.
brass tacks, as they say.
So, in between your drinking binges, have you been watching anything?
No.
Oh.
We have watched. I've forgotten what it's called. I've got no notes in front of me because I've been so
Peppa
busy
Pig.
trying to get the football on the telly. I think it's called Outer Range on Amazon.
Oh, I saw that advertised.
Josh Brolin, I think.
Yeah. Haven't gone there yet.
Don't
Oh.
go there
Okay.
until there's the possibility of a second season.
It ends like that, does it?
Not just does it end like that, but it gives you nothing. You know, so this is a sci-fi mystery thing. So Josh Brolin is a rancher. He's, I don't know, about 60 something. He's got a couple of grown-up kids. Grown-up children.
Josh Brolin really has got a new agent recently, hasn't he?
he's been,
Yes.
he's certainly
on
doing
there
well for
again,
himself.
yeah.
But he,
Sorry.
on his west paddock, which is quite a long way from the house. If you imagine a ranch is a big thing. There's this. He comes across this whacking great big hole, but you can tell he can tell straight away it's not just a hole in the ground. It's to nothingness type thing.
Yeah.
And he tries to cover it. He tries to bury it.
Does he throw stuff down there?
throw stuff down?
Yeah,
it.
I do that. I do that a lot.
Exactly. So it's like this mysterious hole that is opened up in the earth, and then some random hippie turns up and asks if she can camp on his land, and gives him a load of money because he's initially saying no, you can't, but needs the money.
And hippies
You've
are
got
rich.
And the neighbouring ranch wants to buy the west paddock for some reason. So they obviously know what the guy that owns that ranch has got an inkling of what's on his ranch, and it's all weird stuff happens. I don't want to say what the weird stuff is because you need to watch it.
Spoilers.
It's a spoiler.
Yeah.
But there is no thread resolved really throughout the entire 8-episode run.
So he doesn't have a little get together with Mr. Burns off of Simpsons and say, I know what to do with your radioactive waste.
No. There's just nothing. It's just crap. Well, it's not crap, but it's, like even things like Lost would give you a little bit of a clue or a hint or a thread.
Get something to take you to the next question.
Yeah. This doesn't. The whole thing is one long question with no real answers or
Little glints
tip.
of...
Nothing to even give you any clue. There is clues in it, and I have a theory about it, but to go into that would be giving away too much of the plot, so I won't. But yeah, and it just kind of ends.
Has it got a season 2? Do we know?
Don't know yet. I mean, it
No.
needs to have one.
Now, on that note, From has debuted in the UK, which is the new series. I'll go into that in a second. But
Watched it, mate. Did it.
we're
Completed
doing
it, mate.
Completed it, mate. But obviously, the first thing I did was check, and it has been given a
Yeah, I
second
saw that,
series. So I
Some
thought,
point in
okay.
2023.
Yeah.
It's okay to watch this now.
So I thought, right, I'll watch it. And it stars, I'm going to say his name wrong now. It's Harold, I think it's Perrineau, who was Michael in Lost.
Yep.
And then he was Damien Pope in Sons of Anarchy. He was in Oz.
He's been in Supernatural
He's
as
in
well.
Supernatural.
Yeah.
He was in the Constantine TV series, the original one. Yeah, really, basically, he's never in anything that's shit. That's the one thing I can say about him. Like he's a symbol of excellence as far as I can tell. If you see him in something, the program might be bad, but the episode he's in will be good because he
It's
just
like a hallmark
raises
on
everyone. Yeah,
antique
he's
silver.
definitely. Is it Harold Perrineau? I'll probably
I
say
don't know.
Perrineau.
anyway. But we all know
Listeners
who I
can
mean.
Google it for themselves.
But basically, he is.
Yeah,
I'll give you the synopsis. Would that be?
it's fine. Yeah.
I won't do any spoilers. But basically, he's like the sheriff of this sort of run down sort of little town. It's not really a town.
You can give away a bit.
Yeah,
'cause
and basically,
it
wait, see
starts
it in the
off.
pilot. Yeah, and basically, you've got this nice family, husband and wife, son and daughter. The son's like the youngest one in their camper van, enjoying their great American holiday, and they kind of come across this big tree across the road, and all these sort of, is it crows or ravens? Big
Blackbirds, yeah.
scary blackbird.
If they're
type
big,
things.
they're probably ravens.
But
Slightly
big
smaller,
scary
they'll be
blackbirds,
crows.
and like that. And then they drive along. They come into this town where Harold Perrineau is the sheriff, and there's a funeral going on. And then he gives them directions how to get back on the road, and they keep driving, and then they kind of come back in the same way. And it's like, what's going on? And everyone else seems to in the town seem quite. Oh, you remember what? And he says something like, "Remember what happened when this happened to you? Let's just give them time." And all that, and then as they're bombing around again, they have a car crash with these two sort of drugged up young rich people.
Yeah.
And
Trust fund kids.
yeah, well, he's
Entrepreneur
an
type thing.
inventor, isn't
Yeah.
he? He's like
Yeah.
well, we learn later on he's like some sort of inventory, jobsy type person. I'm a millionaire. You don't know who I am, and all that. But none of that matters there. And yeah, basically, and then they have this car accident, and then everyone freaks out because they've got to get him in before it goes dark. Because when it goes dark, something bad happens, doesn't it, Paul?
Lots of bad things happen.
And,
The bad people come along, or the monsters
Yeah,
come out to play.
and it's 10 episodes. I thought it was really good, worth watching. But again, just as it gets interesting, it kind of
It ends.
that's the end of the series. But at the same time, there are little things planted along the way, and you don't really get any answers, but you get more questions at the end. So things do progress slightly, I would say. What do you think, Paul? I'm talking lots about it, and I know you've seen it as well.
I liked it. It is. It's got familiar themes. It's a bit like was it 30 Days of Night, that kind of vibe where people are
It got not in the gets dark.
and it also reminded me not Last House on the Left, the Joss Whedon film where there's
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the Woods had that kind of vibe at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to a lot of the other stuff out there on TV, I did like it, and looking forward to a season 2.
Yeah, that's what annoyed me. I've got to wait a year now for season 2.
Well, that's the breaks of watching a whole season like I did and binge watching it in a couple of nights.
Yeah, and
But that's the way to go.
But it's definitely watch it because it's quite a slow pace. I think and it is one of those ones.
Well, I mean, this Outer Range, that you don't know the term slow pace without watching.
Okay.
Seriously,
But it is a bit of a slow pace. And sometimes I think it's one of those shows where what we think was a bit of like, oh, that was a bit boring. Okay, let's get to the main bit. Later on, that will be significant, but we haven't realised yet.
It's not perfect. I think they threw in the odd bit here and there for literally no reason.
Oh, example.
Spiders. There was a lot going on with that.
Oh, yeah. But
felt-
again, I think that's
Yeah, I
going to
know,
end
but
up... That's going to
Don't
mean...
introduce so many things.
Yeah.
Just have that almost to me implies like, oh, they're not just going for 2 or 3 series; they're going long game, and they're going to have all these.
But I did read an interview with Harold Perrineau, and he said like he wasn't getting stung again. He said, "Have you got an ending?"
Fair enough, like it.
Because
like
one of the guys that done it has got something to do with Lost.
Right.
And he said they've explained it to him. He said he doesn't know everything that's going to happen to his character, but he knew things before it came up in the script, so he could understand the character and all that. And they've explained the concept to him, and he's quite excited about it. So,
cool. No, I thought it was good. Gore factor was there. Special effects were good.
Yeah, you've definitely got that no one is safe vibe again as well, which I like about a show.
The acting was pretty good from all of the cast. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
But it's definitely, don't watch it. It's you've just read the first chapter of the book. You know what I mean? They've laid the seeds there. Don't go in going, don't
closure.
Yeah, don't go in and go, well, nothing really happened. And just pay attention to the little things.
No, and stuff does happen.
Yeah, stuff does happen. Yeah,
and they've just ended it as the series should be ended.
Yeah, it's on a cliffhanger, which is good. But there are little things like, for me, I think, for instance, like in the diner, every so often it's like one of those old like 1950s diners, and every so often, like with no reason at all, the jukebox will just play random song.
Yeah,
it'll come on its own. No one's done it, and I think that's like a key to something.
Well, that's why I was saying it's got that kind of Josh Whedon type. I can't remember the name of the film, but it's almost like there's this controlling thing. Is it a science experiment? Is it, some evil thing that's just letting them play out?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So there's also that, but yeah, definitely worth a watch. You should add that to your list.
Okay, I will.
It's on Sky something,
and it's only 10 episodes, 40 odd minutes a hit, so it's not too bad. Watch that. That was very good. And then I watched.
No.
Oh,
so you started off the From conversation. So
oh yeah, no, that's right. No, you're right.
Well, I'm going to pick up something that we can both tag team as well.
Ooh.
Although when we got back from the UK,
Premier League footballer,
got back from the UK, realised that on the Virgin package we don't have Sky Atlantic.
No, it doesn't carry Sky Atlantic.
Yeah, so when we were out in Ireland, we watched Game of Thrones: House of the Dragon, episode 1.
Oh, okay. I too have seen this.
So, try and brush off the shackles of Game of Thrones.
I like the ending.
Well, a lot of people didn't, so that's why I said
don't get involved in that again.
No,
I'm not having it.
But
that's my opening gambit. Is like to the listener, brush off the shackles of Game of Thrones. This is obviously the prequel, House of the Dragon, set a couple of 100 years before Game of Thrones came around, with the Targaryen kings, and the at the height of the empire, shall we say? And I think a while ago we had a quick look at the trailer as well, and like we talked about the cast a lot. Matt Smith host of thousands, obviously because it's Game of Thrones. Obviously, I've only
Considine.
I've only seen episode 1.
As have I.
Oh, okay, cool. And it's a nice setting to
nice setting the scene.
Yeah. And I think the thing that did it for me as well was because I saw Morbius not so long ago with Matt Smith, where he's kind of a evil character. It was a nice segue into him being an evil character in this as well, and he pulls it off quite well. He's got that kind of smarmy, up his own backside, I'm holier than thou type. I'm going to be the next heir, and he plays it really well. But it was only episode 1, so we know there's twists and turns going to come. We know there's going to be gore. There were some obligatory sex scenes, even though
of course there is,
weren't really necessary. But
but nowhere near what there was in Game of Thrones.
No,
that's it's. There was it's a bit that, or it's a bit gory. It's been toned down a lot. But I guess if you haven't seen that, you go, oh, boobs. And apparently the internet exploded because girls got to see Matt Smith's arse finally. I didn't know that was the people thing, counting down for, but it's quite nice to know that your ass tweeting #1 worldwide at one point in your life is quite
Yeah.
a nice thing, I suppose.
We can only hope.
And I've had you're an ass, but I've never had your ass. But yeah, no, it was good. I enjoyed it. The thing is, it's exactly what I expect it to be.
Yeah.
And you've got the political intrigue, the two brothers. Paddy Considine's the king. His brother's Matt Smith, who's might not be happy being #2. You know, he might have a few things up his sleeve. Very Lion King, really. As I was watching, I was like, "This is just the Lion King," and he has a daughter instead of a
Yeah.
thing. I did like the
It is a
bit
bit
of
like that.
go and have a wash, you stink of dragon, or something like that. That was quite nice. But it's just one of those shows. It's really good, but you just got to think, are you in? Because it's one of those shows you can't just watch. You're either in or you're not, and it's
Yeah.
whether or not
You've got to invest in it.
you want to make that commitment to another 4 or 5 years of this.
Yeah, I don't think I'm very unlikely to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with it. Paddy Considine is awesome in everything he's in. I also think, I haven't seen episode 2 yet, but I don't think he's long for the series.
Yeah. he doesn't give that.
He's going the
vibe,
way of
does he?
Sean Bean, is he?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's going to be the no one is sacred, you know, because as soon as the original Game of Thrones, as soon as what do you mean they've killed Sean Bean, and then that was it. It was game on for anyone then.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's been set up to be in this show. That
The really weird thing as well I found watching it is I was kind of seeing it in two ways. One, I was just watching the show,
yeah,
but there was another bit of me that was looking at the characters, and there's two young female actresses. One that plays his daughter, the princess who then becomes the heir.
Yeah.
We find out, and then her handmaid or sidekick or whatever she is. There's a little bit of me that thinks, well, these are the next generation of the likes from Game of Thrones, and in a few years they're going to be going down the red carpet or getting into their Hollywood
definitely.
film. So it was like, and same from the Stranger Things crowd, you know, thinking, well, this is the start of their journey or the continuation. Because apologies, they may have been in lots of different stuff, but this is potentially their big break. And again, there's going to be a year between this and the next season, and are they going to go through the same rigmarole that everyone else has had to go through as well? And are they just going to be in a few years' time scraping around for some bit parts in British films, or are they going to be the next Hollywood A-listers?
no, you're right.
So that
you're
was
right.
the interesting bit for me, because Matt Smith's pretty much out there, big player, and yeah. So I found that interesting.
Don't forget, he was the villain in the whichever the Terminator film it was at one point that then never got carried on.
Was he?
He was the one with Amelia Clarke in. He got
Matt
killed.
Smith was in that.
Yeah,
as well.
he's the
I
guy
don't
at the
remember
end.
him
He
for that.
kills like John Connor. He was like one of the resistance. He gets took over, and he kills John Connor at the
Okay.
end. But they never ever made the next one. Then they
Right.
went back to the one where they brought
So Amelia Clarke handed over the baton to him.
Well, so Amelia
The
Clarke
Game
was
of
like the
Thrones.
hero. She was Sarah Connor. And it was the one that was the really good one where they went back to 1984, whatever it was, and done it all again.
I didn't even know that existed.
That's
to be perfectly
that's
honest.
that's the really good one. But people didn't like it because it wasn't Beauty and the Beast. What's the name?
So,
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton.
And when they were like, but they can't do it because she's like 6 now. Of course, then they went and did the other one again, where they redid it again. They're sort of getting like Halloween now. Where
Yeah.
they keep
I watched
remaking
that
it.
recently.
Yeah,
actually,
it was awful.
it was like, well, Skynet's no more, so we've brought there's something so very similar to Skynet that isn't. It's like,
And
Why
John
did-
and John Connor's dead, but it doesn't matter because there's a girl as well now.
yeah.
And that other girl's going to help her, and that girl's going to help her, and Sarah Connor's going to help all the girls.
It's like
Who run the world, girls?
you've gone through all this.
Sisters are doing it
Oh, it
for
was.
themselves.
I was just waiting for the frigging Ghostbusters to pull up. But
They made a big deal
and
about
the
the
Spice
fact that,
Girls bus.
but they made a big deal about the fact that Skynet's gone to be replaced by something practically the same as
Same
Skynet.
Skynet, yeah.
Moon-
Do something a bit different, like aliens come down.
But the other one, I think it was called Regenesis or something like that, because they even did a bit where the fight takes place. You remember when Arnold walks along and he sees Bill Paxton and that as the punks, and he's like,
Yeah.
they do that bit, but then the old Arnold who's been around, hanging around, comes out and like just gets rid of him then. So it's almost like they redo it all in that, and it looks really cool. And it was all really well done. And then, then it wasn't.
Yeah. It sounds awful.
Well, we didn't watch that.
No,
this
Yeah,
week
well,
anyway.
that one was really good.
Stop.
No, but we're going
I've
sidetracked.
done a poor job of hosting there. I should have steered the conversation away
No,
much
but that
sooner.
one, no, can we talk about what we were watching? And that
we
one
didn't
was
watch
really
that.
no
good.
one watched
No,
that.
but that led from the Game of Thrones debate and what happened to them afterwards and all that.
To be fair, we probably need to elongate this conversation because I can't imagine our spotlight on Withnail is going to last that long.
Oh, it might.
Okay, so move on. What else other than Terminator have you been watching, Brett? Back to you. Sorry, Damien, you did say that you've only
No,
been
you're
watching
fine.
one thing.
I was drinking my rum and coke anyway, so.
I watched the horror film Antlers.
Oh.
I keep meaning to watch this and keep
Yeah.
forgetting.
Sweet Tooth with a Vengeance.
I may have saved you a job.
Really? Okay.
It's all right. The most disturbing thing about the whole film is that Rory Cochrane plays the police deputy and gets about 8 lines the whole movie.
Rory Cochrane.
Empire Records.
Oh,
Days Are
right,
Confused,
yeah.
and gets about 8 lines in the whole film, and one of them is,
Does that count as a line?
he has to speak it, you get paid for it. And I was just like, you've got him in the film, and he clearly, half the time, like, the sheriff bloke's talking, who's the brother of the main teacher girl, who's the sister, and he's just like, on his car in the background, sat on the bike, just having like a roll up while he's waiting, looking cool. Although it did shock me that he's 50 now, but that's enough. I was like, but it's not rubbish, but it's not
Not as
nothing.
good as.
It
Yeah.
was an episode of the X-Files that we've all seen before.
Right.
Yeah, fair enough.
Does that make sense? No one in it's awful. It's the little kid in it is really creepy and does deserve to be a creepy kid in something a bit bigger and a bit weirder, maybe. I'll probably turn out that he's been in loads of stuff and I don't know what it is. But he was good, and I hope he has a career that I don't have to read about on TMZ in a few years. but no, everyone in it's good. But it was could have been a TV pilot, an episode of the X-Files rather than a big blowaway.
Yeah.
Oh, and they had what's his name? Green, the
Lawn Green.
no,
Seth
no, he's the American Indian.
Peter Green.
He's a native first generation American. He's the Indian dude. He's in
Coyote.
the Twilight. He's in the Twilight films as well, and sometimes he's a police chief in Murder She Wrote.
Oh,
I think I know.
He's
yeah.
got like
I know
dark
you mean.
hair, dark eyebrows, like first generation Native American, whatever it is nowadays. My apologies.
He's
but,
not first generation because that would make.
Yeah, no, but that's what you're called now. I think it's changed. But like,
is that like how every American is actually like half Irish?
yeah, basically,
Right.
or wherever else their thing comes from. I'm German. No, you're not.
Or Italian?
Oh yes, and he's like the former sheriff who shows up and tells them some tale about an urban myth in the woods, and then come back later on just to drop another bit about
Another
that
little-
tale,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then just disappears again. So it's like, we've got him for one day.
And then one day a wise woman called Jessica came and saved the day.
So that
Yeah,
don't. It's not rubbish, but you're not missing anything.
Not
if you
missing
don't
out
watch
by
it.
not getting around to
But-
watching
Okay.
it.
But to me, it was an
Okay.
X-Files script that got
Fair enough.
took out to 2 hours.
All right, Mr. Hawke. I've got nothing, by the way.
Yeah.
That's all I've watched is that.
Okay, so while we were away on holiday in Ireland, we had a movie day.
Ooh.
So we took the kids to the cinema, and then for
Ooh,
a bite to eat
ooh.
afterwards.
Mrs. Brown's Boys, no,
So racist.
I liked it.
Went to see Minions, Rise of Gru.
Ooh.
Don't. Just don't.
Did you wear a suit and be really loud?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Kids.
He does that every day anyway.
So, unfortunately, the first Minions was a good film. Different,
I like
funny,
all the Minions.
quirky. Rise of Gru, they try to make it more of a. Well, Gru's not really bad. He's kind of good, and he makes friends with an evil guy, and the minions just go off and do like a kung fu,
Pastiche.
type thing. It just wasn't very good. It's a bit of a shame. So 4 out of 10. I'm not going to dwell on that. Then
But
we came.
One thing, can I just say? One thing I like about all those films is that everyone seems to forget all the evil things the minions do. They've killed people, they've robbed stuff, they've done something, but they go like banana.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, oh, they're cool.
Yeah.
And it's like they're the evil minions.
Well, they're not even evil in this. That it was supposed to be the Rise of Gru.
I mean, they
And they're all
kidnap 3
kind of
girls.
So then we came home, and the movie day continued, and Shell's mum rented. Well, we took a highway to the danger zone.
Oh,
So we watched Top Gun Maverick.
I've still not seen it yet, but I've heard lots of good stuff.
Right. So
Ooh.
it's you
Do
kind
we
of
need
get
the
the
spoiler bell? I'm happy for spoilers because I'll
Oh, yeah,
never
yeah.
watch it.
put the spoiler bell.
Yeah, I'm not worried because I kind of think I know what's going to happen anyway.
Well, the whole thing about this is you kind of get the plot and what's going to happen within the first few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I can do it now.
And then-
Fly
yeah.
planes and
Yeah,
someone's
yeah,
gonna say
but
they got Need
even
for
what
Speed.
they have to do, it sets out the mission.
Is it like, oh, by the way, this is Goose's son?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh,
even,
there is.
he even has a mustache.
Yes.
Uh,
What they should have done as well is just got Anthony Edwards to play her again.
well, it's Miles Teller.
Okay.
Who's been in some good stuff and some bad stuff, aka
Yeah.
Fantastic Four.
For
But yeah,
didn't
he's got a
happen.
mustache for no other reason than to make him look like Goose's son. He even plays the piano at the bar. But as I said, within the first 5 minutes, you know what the mission's going to be. You know what Tom Cruise's role in this whole thing's going to be. You know what Miles Teller's role within the whole film's going to be. And for some reason, at the very start, and maybe this is what got me through it, is it quite quickly becomes the run on the Death Star. You know that's the
Yeah.
mission. And so for some reason I had Tom Cruise pictured more of a Harrison Ford character, Miles Teller more as the Luke Skywalker wannabe.
It's Val Kilmer, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Val Kilmer is in it, and he dies in it.
Are they like, oh, he got blown up, that's why he's like this now?
No.
Oh.
So he becomes like
And I like Val Kilmer, I don't mean that horribly.
he becomes like Admiral of the Fleet or something.
Okay.
So he's the only reason that Tom Cruise is still doing
Ah, got
what he's
ya.
doing because
'Cause he's his
Iceman
wingman.
gets
You
him.
never leave your wingman.
Exactly.
Does Michael
Um,
Ironside turn up?
I want to say yes for some reason. I can't remember.
Viper.
Um,
Because I'm excited now.
but Val Kilmer's role in it is actually quite good. They did it in a really good way. You know, he's actually in the film got throat cancer or something like that. So he's
Oh, they kind of. Oh,
Yeah.
they gave him some respect then.
yeah, very much so. And that was quite poignant and did it in a really respectful way. But it is the whole of the preparation for the Death Star run. And
So basically, it's everything but without the droids.
yeah, even because they're in like F-18s or whatever, but they're going up against an enemy with next generation airplanes. And they've got no chance with beating them with the F-18s because they're so
If they fly them in a normal way,
yeah. Well, yeah,
not Maverick though.
no, but Brett, it's not about the machine; it's about the man in the machine.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. Maverick, he can, Ghost Rider's requesting a flyby.
Yeah.
Can he say Ghost Rider anymore? Because it's.
I don't know. But that whole film is basically
You can't there's just two words. You can't just copyright two words.
Well, Ghost Rider is a Marvel
I know it's a Marvel
thing.
comic, but I'm still allowed to say Batman. It doesn't necessarily mean it's copyrighted. You can't say it.
I'm Batman.
There is something to do with that. That's why Spider-Man has a hyphen.
Anyway,
No, that was why they did it. It was
That's-
something like.
Print.
anyway,
And films.
stop it, you
No,
two.
but it's-
Stop.
You don't say Spider-Man with a hyphen, do you? So if it's written down, it has to be with a hyphen.
Yeah, but if you copyright that and then you put that onto a film poster, it's copyrighted.
Yes,
Transferring of a medium.
it's
God.
written down. That's my point.
Fictional characters.
Right. Anyway,
Yeah,
so,
carry on. But
so
what would
you know
you
what's
give it
going to
then? What would you
happen.
give it?
I'd give it a 6,
Okay.
only because it's so obvious about what's going to happen. But
Is
if
there volleyball?
there's not beach volleyball, but there is beach American football.
Oh God. Made it even worse.
But they do that as team bonding. It's okay. It's okay if you go in there, leave your brain out
Yeah.
out of the room. There's some good action sequences. But yeah, it's pretty much a Star Wars ripoff.
Most things are. Okay, then. I have been watching season 3 of Solar Opposites on Disney Plus. It's still really, really good and funny, and you should watch it, even though it's a cartoon and we're all grown ups now. And also She-Hulk, or She-Hulk Attorney at Law.
Okay.
I have seen the first 2 episodes now. It's really good. It's quite funny. It's quite chirpy. It's definitely made for, the not stench. That's not the wrong word. But
It's made for the stench.
the fragrance of female empowerment runs through the show a little bit. I would say.
I guess that was always kind of a given, though, isn't it?
But there is some nice bits, like when when they're bringing back
Abominable.
Abomination's back. Tim Roth.
Abominable.
And there's a nice bit though where she's talking to Bruce Banner and she's going like, no, they want me to legally represent him, but he had a fight with you. He goes, oh, we've all changed. He's like, I was a different person back then. And then, cause at that point he was what's his name? The guy that's not Brad Pitt, but they're the same person. Edward Norton.
Yep.
And there's some nice little tongue-in-cheek things. There's a lot. It's Easter egg loaded. Like there's a bit in the episode 2 where she's looking at a newspaper, and there's an article like right in one of the corners about a bar brawl of a man with metal claws, and people are like, "Oh my god!" And it's like, yeah, it doesn't mean it. They're just putting it in there to do it. But there is some background storytelling going on with other characters as well. There's like a bit. I don't want to spoil it, but like at one point, the Hulk's gone off on the spaceship somewhere. And we don't know what's going on with the Hulk.
Right.
We actually see him going off on the spaceship. And he's like, yeah, I won't be able to talk to you for a little while. I'll see how you leave you, let me know how you get on. And you just see him zoom off. So that's setting up other things. So it seems to be almost setting up the world around it and it's filling in a lot of blanks and what happens like in the blip and like how the Hulk after the Infinity War and Thanos and all that. And it's really good. And she seems very good in it. I'd still say the one slight thing is the Hulk, Bruce Banner CGI is better than hers, but then they've had more time to develop it. So, but it's not as bad as it was in that first trailer where she just looked like a green Smurf.
Well, they got a bit slated for that as well.
But like I said, it wasn't finished then, and you can see them. It's being developed as it goes on. But yeah, I'd watch it. I'd be interested to see what your younglings think, especially the girlies, because it seems to be quite,
I'll mention it to Kiwi. So
you should give it a watch. And, cause it's clear that they're going for their, they want someone that the girls want to be like, and it does play well.
Cool.
And it's good. So yeah, that was cool.
Cool. Moving on from your Easter eggs into She-Hulk, which segues nicely into an audiobook that I've been listening to, which is Ready Player One, by Ernest Cline.
Full of Easter eggs.
Narrated by Will Wheaton.
Yes. I've got it. I know exactly what you're on about.
And it's really good. I've got an hour left of the audio.
The book is better. The film's good, but the book is a lot better than the film.
So it's more for chowder heads, definitely. It is different to the film because I actually really like the film.
Yeah,
but they are poles apart because the film's deliberately there to have action sequences and all this kind of good stuff.
And also, they haven't got to pay the rights if it's in a book.
Yeah, but the book is very much based upon him completing challenges, keys, gates, and to do that he has to complete video games as opposed to the races in the films. But yeah, no, I loved it, and I am loving it. I've still got an hour to go. Will Wheaton is really good in it. I think he does a sterling job of narrating.
He really has reinvigorated his career as almost like some sort of king nerd, doesn't he?
Yeah,
since he ended up on the Big Bang Theory and that, he's then he got his own podcast. Now he's doing things like that. And
but the cool thing about this as well is, as he's narrating, he's talking about TNG, and he actually is in the book as well. He's like some vice president of whatever. Vice President Will Wheaton, but he does a sterling job of the narration, the voice bits. It comes across as a credible protagonist.
Oh, definitely,
well. So hour left of that. I've already downloaded Ready Player 2.
I haven't listened to that. I've got that, but I haven't listened to it yet.
Well, depending on how long this podcast recording goes on tonight, I might finish Ready Player 1 and start Ready Player 2. So that's an audio book. Handing back to you.
The last thing I really talk about this week is I rewatched This Is England, the
Oh, yeah.
Shane Meadows classic, and
It's been a while.
yeah, it's been a while since I watched it, and it was just I've never watched the TV shows, and I thought, before I do that, because they did like a This Is England like 86, 88, 90, because following like the World Cups and the Euros, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
And I thought I'll watch the first one again before I got a chance to do it, and yeah, it's still really good, very very powerful, and a lot. I don't know if it's the modern age now, and you see in everyone's favourite Scouse actor, whose name we always forget.
Yeah.
God.
Do you know what? I've been trying to. I had it like I'm going to remember this.
Daniel Mays. No,
The other one.
the other one.
I was like, I'm going to remember this time. Yeah, and it features every.
Well, you're just hoping he's going to cut that bit out.
They're
He
right.
won't deliberately now.
I know. It features everyone's favourite Scouse actor, Stephen Graham.
Stephen
But
Graham.
just that whole bit where he comes out of prison and joins the gang again, you can see the
He's the guy
unrest.
that's in that chef thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see like the unrest of it, and then there's sort of, since he's been in prison, he's got all sort of nationalised, National Front and all that, and just the things he's saying. And I don't know if it's because of all the things that were going on in recent memory, all refugee and all that and stuff, and some of the horrors and horrible things that were happening with all, Britain First and
Yeah.
Stephen Yaxley Lennon, because that's his real bloody name,
Yeah.
and all that. Sorry, listeners, if you're a fan, I'm not. But all that sort of stuff. But it just, I don't know, it just came across a lot stronger this time when I
Yeah.
watched it. It just
Maybe
really,
it's because we don't see that stuff as much anymore. Not as in, I mean, we're
No, I
the
think
TV doesn't show us that much sort of stuff. Not
If you think back in the day, that was on Grange Hill.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
and all those sorts of
over
things. Yeah,
the
now we
years,
don't. But I think it
you
was
know,
just more.
This Outer Ranch thing, Outer Range, whatever it was. Trigger warnings in the top corner: alcohol consumption and smoking.
Oh God.
So that's why this feels probably
Yeah. 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 No. No. Yeah.
we get that.
But it was just
nonsense
looking
stuff.
at it, thinking, right, that was. I know it's fictional, but it's things like that did go on. That's 1982, and you're like, now it's like 2022. Have we changed that much? Even everyone still listens to that music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just sort of, it's still there. It's still underlying. I think that was what made it more powerful, I think. But the amount of people in it now, it's one of those. I'd like to say if they made it today, it cost a fortune, but he did keep making it, so it didn't.
Yeah.
But the amount of talent in that show is quite scary, and in that film, sorry. But I'm looking forward to the TV shows now because I'm going to try and go through them as well because I never had the time to do it. And well, my plan was to do it in the school holidays, but I've only got a couple of days left now,
Good luck
so
with that.
it might not be till Christmas or October now. But that's the plan. They're downloaded on my box, ready to watch. But yeah, still recommend. 2006 it was originally.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cool. Okay.
yeah.
So I'm going to end what I've been watching with a focus on Apple TV.
Oh, here we go.
So we know that Apple TV, when it comes to the content wars, isn't at the same level with the likes of Netflix and Amazon. But many people subscribe because they get an iPhone and then don't.
So I've
Cancel
still
their
got a
subscription.
free month of Apple TV that I haven't put on yet.
Yeah.
So
Just
every
remembered.
now and again they'll release something good. So I'm just going to go through some of them that I have watched. So I'll start with season 3. First episode's dropped with Jason Momoa. Spoke about season 1 and season 2 in the
Yeah.
past.
That was one where Batista was his brother, wasn't it?
Season 2, yeah. Season 3 better be the last one because, well, they need to just draw a line under it now because it invariably is turning into just a high budget Channel 5 series.
Okay.
It really is starting to take on that feel, which is a real shame because season 1 I actually really enjoyed. Season 2 was a bit of a letdown apart from the last couple of episodes. I'll give them the COVID benefit of the doubt. Unless season 3 starts to pick up a bit, they need to either draw a line under it and say this is the last series, season, whatever, and finish it, or again they need to up their game a bit. I'm not getting a warm fuzzy feeling from that so far. Blackbird. is something worth watching, and this was Taron Egerton, or Tareem Egerton, as my autocorrectors put it. But it's definitely Taron Egerton. He plays basically a drug pusher who gets sent down to for something like a life sentence or 12 years, something like that. The only way he can get out of it is by going to a harder prison to become friends with a paedophile murderer and to find out
Getting info, like
he's a murderer of paedophiles, or he's a paedophile who's a murderer.
He's a paedophile and a murderer.
Right. Okay. So just for a minute there, it sounded like he was a paedophile murderer, as in he would.
That would go down well in prison.
I say that's
No, he's a bad egg.
He's a bad egg
in more ways than one. And Taron Egerton has the task of befriending him.
Who was Eggsy in the other one.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a good egg.
Really good series though. So definitely recommend that. The one that we started watching, we're about 4 or 5 episodes in, is Shining Girls. This is with Elizabeth Moss, who's in Handmaid's Tale.
Is that the one who's in Mad Men as
Invisible
well?
Man. I don't know if she's in Mad
She
Men.
she's got blonde hair. Is she the main one in The Handmaid's Tale?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was in Mad Men.
Yeah, cool. And it's got Jamie Bell, aka Billy Elliot. He's in it as well. This is so far so good. Elizabeth Moss.
What's the premise?
Elizabeth Moss has been attacked in the past. Since then, she's got really screwed up memory, real short-term memory problems. She thinks one thing's happening, but like she'll go home and completely different. Her mum's not there anymore, and never. They're not living together, and she's actually found out she's got a husband now. The only way she can keep track of this is by having a notebook. But it turns out that there's been another murderer, very similar MO to the
What
attacker.
happened to her? Right.
So Jamie Bell is the murderer, and we follow her as she tries to work with her reporter, because she works for a newspaper. So a reporter colleague trying to get to the truth and trying to find the murderer. It sounds like it's very much a hunt the bad guy type thing, but there is a supernatural twist to it.
Ooh.
Because Jamie Bell hides stuff in the cavities of his victims, and they link through the victims together, but some of them have yet to happen. I.e., there's some keys found in a body from like the 70s, but the keys are from the modern day. How did that happen?
Ooh.
Oh, I get you.
So it's got a nice little twist to
Yeah.
it.
What's that called? Shining
Girls.
Girls.
Yeah, so as I said, 5 episodes in, so far so good.
It does sound good. I like things like that.
See, I'm thinking I might swap Shudder for Apple TV, because I'm not watching much on Shudder at the moment.
No, my, to be fair.
Yeah, so I might.
Although it may be worth waiting for our Halloween specials.
Yeah, but then there wasn't that much on there last year for Halloween. It's mostly turning into documentaries and films that are cursed. Which
I would say at the moment, I would recommend the Arrow app over Shudder.
But then that's mostly old stuff, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's all the stuff that they bring out.
I don't want to pay for stuff I've already seen.
No, but all the stuff they bring out. So when they get like a film and they do like the special Blu-ray edition and thingy it and all that, and then all like a lot of the extras are then on there as documentaries and things like that.
I understand your love of the DVD Blu-ray extra. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but it's some really good documentaries.
Before
on
you
there.
cancel your subscription, though, Hellraiser, where's that being released to?
That's coming soon as well.
Yeah.
I think it's Hulu,
Oh, okay. So that's not
Yeah.
really
which will
Shudder.
be Disney Plus.
Exactly.
That's what makes you laugh. You've got all these people going like, "Oh, they won't put that on Disney Plus." Sons of Anarchy's on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Good.
In this country. No, in other thing. That's what I'm saying.
No,
People
yeah,
go, "Oh, no, it
absolutely.
won't be on Disney. It won't be on Disney." It's
Yeah,
like,
whenever
well,
they
it
buy
is.
up a property, it's, they're going to ruin it, they're going to tone it down, they're going to do this, that, and the other.
They're
But
trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
They have.
Exactly.
South Park predicted.
Yeah.
that
So
many,
okay. So that's
many
going to be
years
Disney
ago.
Plus, hopefully. So okay.
Yeah.
Bin-
That's Hulu
bin
in
Shudder
America.
Okay, so based on his unpublished novel of the same name, director Bruce Robinson released Withnail and I in 1987 to very little fanfare and a mediocre box office success. In the intervening years, thanks in no small part to its infinitely quotable dialogue and larger-than-life performances, it has become a much-loved classic. I'm not entirely sure this room agrees with that, but we're going to plough on anyway.
Well, we know it is a cult classic.
It is, yes. There's
Whether
no
it's loved
denying,
by us,
Yeah.
we will find out.
Yeah,
Yes, we will.
fair dues. So, before we go on to casting, should we do our memories of the film? When we first saw it, what we thought of it when we first saw it, etc., etc., all that stuff we do where we normally just say the same thing, which is I saw it on Sky. And it was just
No, I've got a different one for this.
okay, cool. You go ahead. You start then, Mr. Summers.
Now, this is just one of those films that, I don't know, it was one of those video things that every so often someone would sit me down and go, you've got to watch this. And I did. And then I left and did something else.
Okay.
And it was like, oh, what up? And it was like, yeah, I've seen it. And just, yeah. But we'll get into the other bit in a minute. And I was never like, oh my God. Well, actually, and the bit, and this kind of goes into the memories bit as well, because
Yeah.
Ralph Brown as Danny. That was the one bit wherever I went, I remember that bit, and the bit where the guy from Pie in the Sky tried to force himself upon him.
Yeah.
And those were kind of my memory bits, and that was the one bit many years later in the Farley Superior Wayne's World 2 when he popped up again, almost as the same character.
Yeah.
And then many years after that, in Coronation Street, later on, when Status Quo were in it, he popped up almost as the same character again as the roadie. And he's been in loads of stuff. I mean, he's been in Star Wars and everything.
Yeah, he's an accomplished character actor.
He's very much like a Lone Chaney kind of actor, where he's had all these different roles and he's been in everything, but you never realise it's the same guy.
Yeah.
And I do respect that. But that was the one, he was the character I identified with.
Fair enough. Mr. Hawkins?
So my memories of this are pretty much everyone raving on about it and how I should watch it.
Yeah.
It almost had almost a Monty Python type cult, i.e. Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And,
so like you
and I
see
didn't-
in that sliding doors where it's always just quoting Monty Python. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I didn't really like Holy Grail compared to Life of Brian, so I just kind of thought, oh, fuck off. If I want to watch it, I'll watch it in my own time. And I'm not going to like it, actually. And a few years later, I did watch it. And it probably was one of those ones late at night with the mental attitude, this is going to be shit.
I'm not going to like this.
Yeah.
So
And I don't think I did.
fair enough.
And I thought it was a bit up its own backside.
You can say arse.
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 And I think at the time I just didn't get it because I was in the wrong frame to enjoy it or to take it as a film without all these pretentious people telling me to like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. See, it's weird. I don't know why, but that whole thing passed me by. So I never even seen or heard of this film until 1997 when I was doing film studies. And it was one of the films I had to watch for that. And I thought it was good. But I don't know anyone that quotes it at me or knew anyone that quoted it at me. I was kind of oblivious to this whole
I don't think we went
cult
to
following.
those kind of schools, though,
No.
did we?
No.
Which is probably why we liked Life of Brian more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good point. I put this in the same sort of category as like Vic and Bob. You know, when they were doing Shooting Stars and that, and people used to come running up to you and go, "Oh, Volvo!" It was like
Yeah.
twat.
Yeah.
And it was kind of that thing. Like, oh, you got to watch it. And so I did watch it, but it wasn't that funny.
Yeah.
There were funny bits, but
Mhm.
and that was my thing with this. 'Cause people go, "Oh," and you're like, "Nah, you're right. Go and watch Revenge of the Nerds." Or whatever, I don't know. That was the first thing that came to my head. But that's that kind of. I think it had that kind of. Oh, you must like this because we're saying the cool words.
I think if at the time someone said, similar to Rocky Horror Show, yeah, we can go get dressed up, go maybe some attractive looking women not wearing much and going along singing to all the songs and that kind of stuff. If someone had come up to me and said, and similar to the Eurovision, we're going to have a Eurovision party, lots of drinking, doesn't really matter. Every time there's a firework, we'll have a drink. Similar, if someone said, we're going to do a night where we just watch a film and there's a drinking game that goes along with it, I probably would have been a bit more into it as a teenager. But no one did that.
No one did that. No. Okay.
Not even after they studied at film studies.
Okay.
We didn't have any of that.
Yeah, no one introduced us to that, did they? That was your fault. You could have saved this.
I was very highbrow.
We could have
back in
said,
those days.
you remember that party that we had late 90s after Amy went to like film studies and came back with his drinking game? That was brilliant night, wasn't it?
But it never happened.
It
never happened.
Never mind. Anyway, okay. So
In the multiverse, it did.
Yeah.
somewhere, thanks to I can't.
And I bet we've all got moustaches in that one. But yeah, carry on.
So just a couple of casting notes we'll run through very quickly. Paul McGann was the first choice for I, but was fired during rehearsals because it was decided his Scouse accent was wrong for the part. So several other actors read for the role, but McGann eventually persuaded Robinson to re-audition him, promising him to affect a home county's accent and quickly run the part back. And actors considered for Withnail included Daniel Day-Lewis, Bill Nighy, Kenneth Branagh, and Edward Tudorpole. The great Edward Tudorpole. Didn't he go on to do
Crystal Maze.
Crystal Maze? Yeah, that's what I thought.
You went to college.
I know. I
with
went.
cousin.
Yeah. Cool. So that's the casting notes. There's not a lot much else out there.
And he was in Game of Thrones.
Was he? He was. You're right. Yes.
Yeah, he was the preacher in the market.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Bill Nighy do that.
It'd have been
role.
interesting.
Yeah. Kenneth
Yeah.
Branagh got no.
No, not got no time for him at all.
Daniel Day-Lewis, the film would have never finished.
It wouldn't have done either. He would have been drinking the entire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spilt.
He would have
drink
drank
on
that
my.
load of fluid.
I spilt whiskey on my left foot. But did Bill Nighy do anything before about the year 2000? Because he was just one of those actors that just suddenly appeared and has been in everything.
He's
ever
one of
since.
those, when the people say he's an actor's actor or he's a comedian's comedian. He's one of those that's kind of always been around, always done good stuff when he's done something, but had never been.
Because the first time I ever
Up
remember
there.
him is the TV series of State of Play, which then got made into a film later on. They Hollywooded it. And in the TV series, he was the newspaper editor, and his son was James McAvoy.
So that was like mid-90s, wasn't it?
I'd
Mid
say
to late-
early 2000s, yeah.
Was it? Okay.
And I can't remember who the main guy was. There was other people, but it's one of those that I think everyone in it is like a Hollywood star now. But then they remade it as a film. I think Ben Affleck was in the film. And it's like a politician scandal, and they try and cover it up.
Yeah, I
and
remember this TV
Yeah.
show.
And the other thing with Bill Nighy now is he could be 140. The guy hasn't aged
No,
since Shaun of the Dead.
he's reached a point and he
Yeah.
stayed there.
He probably is 140. He's probably been going since the 40s, in major acting roles. It's just, like Dorian Gray. He just, doesn't age.
Anyway, so that's the casting.
So that was Withnail and I.
Yeah.
He was great in Gone with the Wind.
But he wasn't in Withnail and I.
No, he was in the first talkie. Okay, so as usual,
Steamboat Willie.
let's just run through the plot and we'll chip in as and when we feel
Cool.
the need to. So it's London. It's 1969. Two out-of-work actors share a squalid flat in Camden Town. Coming down from an extended amphetamine high, Withnail complains bitterly about the cold and his lack of employment. After an argument about washing up, Withnail resolves to tackle the rotting pile of dirty dishes. Eventually, the attempt is abandoned, and after a brief walk in Regent's Park, Withnail covers himself in deep heat to ward off the cold. A search for alcohol produces nothing but lighter fluid, which Withnail drinks eagerly, then vomits on Marwood's shoes. See, coming from this film with no knowledge whatsoever, I did find that opening funny. I liked the kind of over the top, you don't know what's in there. I saw something, there could be something living in there. It struck a chord of being funny. However, watching it 3 days ago, I just didn't find it funny.
So
Now, is that an age thing, or is it just I don't know what.
It's because Rick Mao and Adrian Emerson did it better.
Do you know what? That was what I was thinking throughout the film. Was Bottom is so much better than this.
Well, and Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, even
Yeah.
before that, which is the precursor to Bottom.
I had a couple of issues from the very get-go,
Okay.
which kind of cascaded through the rest of the film, and it didn't help with some of the other actors that pop up in, like, from that first opening scene with the dishevelled hair, and then he puts his glasses on. I thought, actually, he looks like an older Harry Potter. And then I couldn't get it out of my head. It's like, it's Harry Potter, and then you get Thingy Bob that plays Dursley, that the Rich Withnail,
Uncle Monty.
Yeah,
Richard Griffiths.
that's right, and that didn't help either because another Harry Potter character, an actor, pops up. So I had that going, and that carried on through the film. Thinking, I'm surprised someone hasn't done a mashup with this and like a lot of Harry Potter references and scenes. And you're right, a lot of the comedy has been done a lot better elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's maybe why it's not.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
even at, like, what was this, 87?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're walk-ins so someone else can run later on. We've had the new wave of new wave comedy. The Young Ones has been and gone.
Yeah.
Filthy Rich and Cat Flap would have been on telly by then.
Yep, that's been and gone by then.
But Bottom,
no,
not
Bottom
yet.
started in '90, I think.
So they would have maybe the
91.
Dangerous Brothers at this point.
No, they
Was it
they
the Dangerous-
finished being the Dangerous Brothers mid '80s, I think.
Well, 87. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm
Well,
just
that's
trying to
late
think,
'80s.
well, I'm trying to think what they would have been doing at this point then.
I think they were just themselves as in
Okay.
famous. Do you know what I mean? They were
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, don't forget you had Rick Mel doing Kevin
Kevin
Turvey.
Turvey. This would have been the English Saturday Night Live era. You've
Yeah.
had your loads of money and all that stuff kind of. So I don't think, although it's set in, was it 69 or whatever it is, that's not really. I suppose the only thing you could say on that was maybe Camden wasn't the Camden it becomes. Maybe, you know,
Certainly not. Well, no, but then most places in London weren't. You know.
yeah, it was all Carnaby shooting right in those days, wasn't it? So, but you know, did it need to be 1969? It could have been nowadays. You know, it could have been. There was nothing significant to the year it was set, apart from maybe obviously maybe phones. But
yeah,
No,
but
no,
no,
but
but
had
then
that
so
same
without
looking-
going to, and I don't think it matters when we talk about this, but so without going too deep and sounding like proper film school wanky, this film is about the end of an era, so
Yeah.
the end of the '60s, but also the end of their friendship. So but you know how
Yeah.
the film ends. So it probably does because there is a mindset, and it was probably I forgot the guy's name now, the director and the guy that wrote the
Bruce
original
Robinson.
novel. Thank you. That age group, if you like, have this belief that the '60s were the greatest decade because that arguably kickstarted pop culture and film, TV. The whole shebang is stems from the '60s. So yes, it probably does have to be set in the '60s because that's what the film is actually an allegory. Is that the right word?
yeah, I'll give you that. But
And I also think
but
it's
do
kind
they
of
do
unfair
that?
to say, well, we had this in the Young Ones, we had this in Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. They're TV shows. This is a film. It's a different market. It's a different setup, if you like. We probably, no doubt, we had the same sort of level of squalor and deprivation in film, but not necessarily in a comedic way. We had real film school ponce now, like Kathy Come Home, all those black and white kitchen sink dramas of the '60s were squalid, but they were actually telling you that it wasn't comedy. It was actually a look at how bad life is and trying to change things. Whereas this is not that. This is just comedy. So to kind of say we've seen it all before in the in Young Ones or feel it's not necessarily. I'm playing devil's advocate because I
Yeah,
kind
and
of agree with
it
you,
was
but
niche at the time as well. I suppose.
Yeah.
See, not everyone was watching the Young Ones at that point. You know, as a general, the crazy young people were, but the old people were like
Yeah.
Bannet. Mary Whitehouse was
exactly.
having kittens.
So as I was watching all these scenes, my thought process was going, "That's quite funny. That's quite funny." I didn't laugh.
No, exactly. And that was it was for me. But I
Yeah.
remember I did laugh the first time I watched it, and I've watched it loads of times since.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just diminished returns. It's just like it's just not laugh out funny anymore.
Yeah.
You kind of just chuckle at it.
No, I'd forgotten all about the opening scene, and I was just sort of like, yeah. And it's kind of, I don't know. I've been in that situation myself, and it's been funnier.
Yeah.
No, but you know, like you've all been out. You wake up the night before. Oh, I've got to do washing out. You got
Well,
to
I mean, to be
drink
fair,
or whatever. You know, we've all
Where
been
I
in
lived
there.
when I
yeah.
lived in Bedford Place, it wasn't
Yeah.
that the kitchen didn't
Yeah.
look much better than that, to be honest.
But you know, and it was like they were more entertaining, and I was the one suffering. But it was kind of, I don't know, it was almost, it went in my head. I almost think it was the pulp Common People version of Common People.
So
You know,
think
like,
it's kind of almost an upper class or a middle class person writing
yeah,
down.
or even, I don't know how much freedom they had with their roles as character actors, because they're both known as character actors and all that. And I was quite surprised that what's his face don't even drink, so fair play
Richard
to
E.
him on
Grant
that
can't,
one.
yeah, can't drink.
Or he's
he's
allergic. Also,
yeah.
And but it was almost like, you know, it almost got that. I almost had the lyrics to Common People going through my head, you know, because he's got the rich uncle as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's almost, his character is almost perfectly like that. You know, his uncle probably could stop it. He's minted, you know.
Yeah.
And he's living in this squalor. The other guy, maybe not so much. He's working his way up. And we'll see. But
Okay.
I don't know, that sort of was going through my head as well. I was picking up that sort of vibe of it and just sort of thinking, well, is this what they think we do or they do?
Yeah.
Or
So you
whatever.
almost think it's
Or if we
this-
were poor and down and out, this
yeah.
would be
So they're
funny.
kind of. So you
Yeah.
actually,
And if I was
so
told
they're
I-
punching down. You think they're punching down,
Maybe punching down, yes.
as in the direct, because I don't know nothing about the director's background. To be fair, I know he said
He's been
it's
an
based
actor
on
in that
his,
as well.
his own experiences.
Or if I was really cold, then I wouldn't just put on more clothes. I'd get deep heat.
And it's just...
Maybe that was a thing in the 60s. You don't
No,
know.
but it just sounds like things that you've heard someone do and you've put them in, which is probably what he did, which is what any good writer should do, really.
Yeah.
So I'm just being really picky. But it just sounded like a sort of greatest hits of student folklore or something.
Yeah.
You know,
But I
like,
think that is why it chimes and why it has that stuff that we were talking about earlier. You know,
yeah,
the
but none of
infinitely
us done
quotable.
any of those
None of us
things.
studied any of that. No, exactly. But it's almost like like Oxbridge people pretending to be
Yeah.
these type of
Yeah.
people.
Rah, rah, rah.
Yeah,
We're going
exactly.
to get the oiks.
I think one thing though, going back and looking at the likes of Carnaby Street from the 60s, you know, we spoke about One Night in Soho.
Yeah.
And how, you know, that showed pretty much and it came across really realistic.
The two sides
vision.
of it, yeah.
Yeah.
And this was very much, you know, even with the building being knocked down, the life, the griminess, the local pub, you know, it wasn't all a wild.
Wasn't the swinging 60s. This was
This was
the
proper rough.
yeah, 2-3 levels down 60s. Yeah.
So I thought that was quite interesting, actually.
Yeah.
I did like the scenery of it, like the I forgot the name of the pub now, the Black something, and you
Yeah.
know, just like the old school sort of pub filming around London and that comes across really well. And you know, there's nothing wrong with what's done. It's filmed brilliantly. They're acting well, you know, and it's not like rubbish like that. It's just the message wasn't there.
Okay.
Maybe. That's what I'm trying to say, if you know what I mean. You know, it's not like they weren't rubbish. It was, but okay. Anyway.
Okay, so moving on. So after, we come to the bit where he vomits on Marwood's shoes. They decide that the only way they can get rid of the cold and to escape the potential matter living in the sink is to go to a pub and get some alcohol in. So in the local pub, one of the tough Irish regulars takes an exception to the perfume on Marwood's shoes that he's used to remove the smell of vomit. And after vainly pleading to save his own skin and to Marwood's horror, Withnail decides to land him in it and flees the scene and basically says, go outside with Marwood and have a conversation about this. Kick him in, leave me alone, Gov. They're visited by a local drug dealer, Danny, who leaves them with a prototype of his latest invention and outlines his plans to go into the toy business. Withnail recklessly boasts he can handle Danny's most powerful drugs, but when Danny names his price, he backs down, much to Marwood's relief. So I guess the thing about this is we've got the very deliberate of the time attitude to homosexuality.
Yeah. Trigger warning, as you say nowadays.
And, even in the 80s, there was still homophobia rampant, shall we say.
Don't forget, this is supposed to be 1969.
No. But at the time of the filming. So, there's still a lot of that.
Because you could argue that how that scene plays out and some later scenes play out may well be done differently if the film was made today.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It not only shows the attitude of 60s homophobia, but just the fact that it's there in the first place probably does kind of reflect on the 80s attitude as well.
And I do like the fact because you've got Danny is your, like you were saying about the movement of the times, here is your 60s pin-up.
Yeah.
Stereotype, hippie, kind of rock and roll.
I think I don't know if it's in this scene or it's towards the end of the movie, but I think he even says we're seeing the end of the greatest decade that's ever been.
I think that's later on with his
when
he does the carrot. I think.
The Camberwell carrot.
Yeah. But
I did like his invention though, not the urine thing, the baby that shits. It's like still no one's done that yet.
No, you can get it now.
A baby that shits.
Well, you feed it stuff and it comes
out.
Oh, right, okay.
So, yeah, they should cover at that.
Yeah.
If it wasn't already at that point. But Larry Barman, who's been in all sorts of stuff, but he's a DCI in Vera, if you recognise him.
Is he?
He's John Warwick, the DCI in Vera.
Oh, okay.
But he is one of those, I watched it, I thought I know him, but he is one of those guys that's
pops
been
up in a lot of things.
Everything going, But yeah, he's had a few reappearances in Vera, which I know is one of your faves.
I think the other thing for me is Danny's character. We've seen so much in lots of other stuff.
Yeah, usually played by him.
Yeah. And it's almost, it almost felt like a, almost...
Well, go on.
What is it? It's similar to the Cornetto trilogy. It's just the same character that just pops up in all these films.
See, I don't know. I guess that he's almost become the cookie cutter go-to for a stoner. But I don't know. I can't now think off the top of my head if we saw that kind of character prior to 87. We must. Well, I guess.
Well, he's basically. I think the closest you got is your Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
He's come into it, and I think that's because it's the English rock thing, and I think that was a few years before, wasn't it? So maybe I don't know if he's tried to tap into that. But
see what he did there.
But yeah, he done well with it, and I just love the fact. I wish they kept the same name, and you could have just had this guy's journey right the way through from that, turning up at Wayne's World 2, and then 30 years later turning up in Coronation Street. There's just like this roadie guy that's still going on. That would have been cool.
But it is. It's almost now that's the blueprint for any kind of stoner, roadie, whatever.
But he had the banter as well. That's the one bit I think a lot of people miss. Even going back to like when we watched Days of Confused a while back, and you had like, yeah, man, we got some jazz, check your leader and all that, and he was really cool in it. But that comes from Danny.
Yeah.
But he didn't have the. Oh, actually, he does do the speech about Pink Floyd and George Washington and that. But again, you wouldn't have got that without Ralph Brown's Danny, I think. And that's why, to me, he should have been the centerpiece of the film.
And I think, again, for the listeners that haven't watched it as well, even in these early scenes and the one before, we're getting told the differences between Marwood and Withnail. I.e., one's very self-destructive, almost blaming the world for his lack of success.
Yeah.
Almost, I'd still say spoiled
Yeah.
in his way. Yeah,
And very much almost self-destructive, but
Yeah.
at the same
Well,
time,
you're right. So sorry, but
Yeah.
at this point we know nothing of Monty, so we don't know about his family connections. But you can tell just by the way he is and the way he's talking and his accent.
it's the
He's from money. He's not.
Yeah, it's the school thing because he says something about, you're one of them because he went to the others. They say something about the schools, don't they?
He does that. That's when he
with
goes to see
Monty.
Monty. He
He
went to the other one.
there. Oh yeah, you went to the other one.
Yeah.
So it's like, we learn that
Yeah.
there's a snobbery there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he studied sculpture at St Martin's College or something like that. He did but then maybe that's where Pulp got it from.
Who knows? No, we all knew someone
Yeah.
like.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
But right. But yeah, I think for me that was the set you needed because you had like the sort of. It was like the seesaw. You had the opposite ends of Marwood and Withnail, and then you had Danny in the middle as the kind. It's like the Venn diagram on screen. They both crossed over into Danny's world, but they were kind of in their own. With Withnail just wanting to prove he can take the strongest drug in the world and be able to do it. And
yeah, but at the same time, he didn't and couldn't. He backed down.
yeah, that's what I mean. So it was all gobbling, but that's what I mean. But you've got that kind of confrontational, but not, and we all have people like that. And I've apologised.
A lot of the time, pointing to us in a nightclub when there's a fight about to kick off.
Yeah, gotcha. So anyway, following Marwood's suggestions that they go on holiday, they visit Withnail's Uncle Monty, hoping to borrow his cottage Crowcrag. Monty regales them with tales of his theatrical past and his sensitive crimes with men. Marwood is uncomfortable, but Withnail delightfully invents stories of his own thespian success whilst helping himself to the drinks cabinet. So old Monty's quite happy with that because he thinks Withnail is more of a bigger deal than he is. And Marwood senses the incoming ordeal he may be facing.
He's not happy from the moment he arrives.
So
It's like Deliverance. They've just got on the canoe. Ding, 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 ding.
So then the pair drive north, arriving at Crowcrag at night in the pouring rain. To ward off the cold, they burn furniture, and in the morning, Marwood visits the local farm to buy some food and fuel, but is met with a hostile reception by the farmer's mother. Eventually, though, the farmer passes his tractor and agrees to bring some fuel, wood, and food, which in turn is actually a live chicken.
A live chicken, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a couple of bits from those scenes as well. So this is, again, Withnail's. We're getting a bit more of Withnail's character as well, because he's, you up until now it's like, well, he's just a down on luck actor that's rich, feeling sorry for himself. But then, when we start with some of these later scenes, it's like, well, actually, is he a bit nastier than that? And are these class things a bit more deep set? I.e., when they're driving in the Jag on the way to the country, there's some schoolgirls.
Yeah.
And he's basically, giving them the fingers.
Scummers, isn't it?
Yeah, shouting out scummers out the window.
I thought wasn't it slappers?
No, it's scummers.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, or scummers, yeah.
Is it
like
because they're like public school? Not public, what's it called now?
Comprehensive, yeah.
Comprehensive, yeah.
Yeah, and then they, shout back, and his comments like, it's all right, they love it. Or something like that.
Yeah.
And you kind of think, well, they are schoolgirls, and, what's that take? And not only is it a class thing, but is it, more of a, well, if I want to get with them type thing, then they'd be up for it. And, it had almost a bit of a darker connotation when I was watching that, thinking, actually, is he a bit of a sleaze bag himself?
It's likely.
Yeah. But up until then, it's just he's just a rich person that's feeling a bit hard done by, but
Yeah.
actually you kind of think, well, he just offered his friend to almost like a lamb to the wolf to get out of
so
one
we're already
scene.
getting a sense that he's narcissistic. He's essentially a bully. He's clearly selfish,
Mhm.
and he's willing to pretty much throw anyone under the bus to get
A drink.
a drink.
Yeah.
Like everyone else,
yeah, exactly.
So this is
And he's
where-
also a really crap co-pilot.
yeah,
Because they're driving along. He's supposed to be in charge of navigation. He's just getting pissed.
yeah.
This brings back memories.
I would not be happy.
Yeah, we've all had that co-pilot.
Sorry.
And we get this weird random thing with Monty liking vegetables rather than
Plants. Yeah, flowers. Yeah.
which is just weird and random. Which again, I think that just taps into that whole thing we were saying earlier about the quotes, and it's because there's just some random things in the film that.
I wasn't sure if was it trying to be more because he likes cabbages better than roses. Then
Yeah,
there was
basically, I
carrots.
think the premise is like
So I was trying to
flowers
work
are
out-
sluts because they open themselves up
well,
to
yeah.
just be pollinated by anything, whereas vegetables,
sluts for bees or something.
yeah,
wasn't it?
something
It
like
was
he says, yeah. It's just weird. It's just a completely. I mean, what kind of mind comes up with that?
So I was watching that and thinking, is this better format if it was read? Is the writer actually trying to make a big speech about, as you said, one person's perception on society and women being the flowers in this? God, we are getting a bit deep. I didn't know we were
Yeah.
going to do this.
Well, that's
Uh,
because
but
there's
again-
nothing in the script, so we have to go into the subtext.
But I kind of thought if that was written, the written word,
I'm about to blow
then
your
you-
minds even more.
then you could dissect that a bit better and go into his psyche. When you're watching it, you kind of think, well, is this just a part of the culture at the time when there was a big movement to grow your own vegetables, carrying on from Second World War? I don't know.
The
Yeah.
good life.
Yeah,
But
Which-
for,
which
but
was
for
the 80s.
me, this is where the journey begins, and it all gets a bit Steinbeck with
Ooh.
George and Lenny.
Yeah,
You've got there's one looking after the other, or they looking after each other, and I think this is where, to me, this is where the parallel begins on that, and where it ends. Especially if you followed what the original plan of the book was, which I found out by looking.
so
we'll get to that
I
later on.
at no point did I get they're both trying to look after each other.
Well, they're together in it.
Yeah,
but it's
Richard
how
E.
they do
Grant,
it is
Withnail is very much looking after himself.
which Lenny does. Lenny never follows. George tries to tell him, but he always screws it up.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
like in this, he's like, "Come on, let's you can do that. Yeah, I'll do that for you." And they go, "No, I want to go to bed now."
Yeah, I mean, it is a codependent relationship to some extent, and
Until
Marwood,
he outgrows it almost.
yeah,
isn't it, in
has,
the end?
that this is it. This is. Well, we are getting to the end of the film, if you like, but it doesn't matter. This is Marwood's journey to realizing he needs to get out of the situation that he's in, and stop being the rock, if you like, for Withnail's madness. And yeah, it's funny enough, I haven't actually written down how the book originally ends, but we know that, so we'll come on to that later anyway.
Yeah, we're going to that with that. But again, I think the fact that we are dissecting also you've got these social issues of city life versus country life, and those comparisons, and we'll get into a bit more on that in a minute. But the fact we're reading, are we going far more into this than they ever intended? Do you know what I mean?
I
And is
don't
that
necessarily
because-
think so.
Because I don't know if they. Is it one of those ones where later on they're like, that's what I was trying to say? And it's like, well, were you really? Because you didn't really. You kind of skated around it more than actually.
I don't know, because the script went through a lot of drafts to put in, then take out, put back in, take out what was in the book. And apparently the book was supposed to be a kind of, it wasn't just like a memoir of his experience. It was supposed to be about, social classes, the end of this, that whole mythos about the end of the six. So it's in the book. Or rather, that's what he wanted to write in the novel. Whether it's in there or not, I don't know. I don't think it was ever published. So I've never read it, obviously. So I don't think it's unintentional. I don't think we're going, we're doing that kind of looking for meaning.
Yeah, but
when it
again,
isn't there.
that's what I'm saying. But we're talking more about that than we are the witty, quotable dialogue and the mere banter that they have.
But maybe that's sometimes that's what works, though, isn't it? You put humour.
Oh,
to
no, I
something,
agree,
it makes,
but
it makes
to
those
the average
points better.
person, they don't even talk about all this. They're
No,
all
but
like,
that's
he had some drinks and then he said something funny. But then that's why we have a podcast.
exactly.
So what
That's why
happens
you're
next?
listening.
What happens next?
Okay, so
I mean, that's the other thing. If we were doing this and doing a drinking game, this whole conversation would be a lot different. It's like, what happened?
no,
Oh,
I've realised I've had to slow down. Okay, so the chicken arrives and it's alive. So after the summing up the courage to kill it, they cook it in a ratchety oven while Withnail fruitlessly phones his agent. Returning from the village with supplies, they leave a gate open and find themselves confronted by the Randy Bull. Withnail escapes over a wall, leaving Marwood alone with the bull. On the advice of the farmer, Marwood runs screaming, and the bull runs screaming at the bull and chases it away. At the Crow pub, Withnail charms the ex-services landlord with the invented military exploits of his own. An attempt to buy food from a local poacher turns nasty when he takes exception to Withnail and threatens him with an eel.
Great character acting from Michael Alfick there.
Alfick, yep.
The way he stumbled in that pub, poured his own drink and drank it. I believe that.
No, not at that point. This was 1987. I'm sure he was.
It was.
Was he? Oh, okay.
I think he was quite a hardened, fully, a high functioning.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough.
So the first thing from this sequence of the film, I was actually impressed with the lads because not only did they manage to prepare potatoes, they also managed to kill a chicken, gut it, pull out some of its feathers, and shove it in an oven.
80% of them.
Yeah. So there's a bit there going.
Well, you say they, but it's likely that Marwood did the majority of the work.
Well, no, Withnail killed it.
Oh, yeah, okay. Fair enough. But again, we get with the bull scene, we get another example of Withnail being the complete arsehole, just dives over the wall and then sort of just basically repeats what the farmer says and is having a whale of a time laughing at the whole situation.
And he even has time to light a cigarette to watch.
That, to be fair, that was the one scene I really related to. I've done stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially if there's water involved.
I can definitely see you running behind the big wall.
And at this point as
And having
well,
a cigarette
there's
those
the
days.
bit where Marwood's confronted by the bull, and instead of running, instead of trying to leg it, he takes it on, he goes screaming at it, and you kind of get a sense, well, actually, is this the worm turning? Is this him saying, you know what, I'm not going to be, attacked, I'm not going to be put down, I'm going to start fighting back?
It's just Marwood's turning point.
Yeah, or did he just break under the pressure?
Yeah.
Maybe the pressure is what made him realise or whatever. But again, no, it was, I don't know. It was one of those scenes, well, this whole bit was just gone through in the pub and that. They were kind of good scenes that either went on too much or stopped too early and didn't. We're picking out.
I think there could have been more comedy
fleshed
in
out.
the pub scene.
Not even necessarily the comedy.
So, yeah.
But if you're getting threatened by this hardened poacher country guy, he didn't even touch him. You could at least grab him or do something threatening rather than like, I'll chase you with
but that's the point, though, isn't it? Because
what was he intimidated?
no one's. Well, Withnail's intimidated, and so's Marwood. But the point is that the whole it's a setup for a gag later on, which is that he comes along and gives them a rabbit. So he's being nasty in inverted commas, not because he is nasty, it's because he's just being matter of fact.
Yeah.
I've given the barman or the landlord these 2 pheasants, whatever it is, because they're his pheasants.
The eel's mine.
These eels are mine. I'm not going to I'm not committing to giving you anything.
Oh yeah, no, I get that.
But the public schoolboys are seeing him thinking, bad country.
Exactly. Yeah,
no, I get that.
It's
But
the class thing, isn't it?
But
They're like their instant reaction is to be, this guy's going to come and beat us up. But what he's actually doing is just being like you said earlier, it's that difference between country
Because
folk
I think-
and
yeah, but is
so
it?
he's like kind of straight down the line.
But we're almost DVD commentating on what it should have been. What did that come out in that scene? We know it doesn't. We've analysed it to say that, but is that what you get when you watch it?
No, because it's setting up.
I know the gate
The
later
later
on. I know that's
gate.
what I'm saying, but I don't know. I just felt there should
The
be
problem
more
is
in there.
it just cuts from that bit to
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's not even if they just like finish their drinks quick
Yeah.
and left, or just something.
yeah. That's what probably should have.
should have,
happened,
or
but
just something just to because it just feels like a lot of it is just kind of it's just not fleshed out enough, or it just sort of stops and they go, okay, here's the next bit, because it's almost
well, the whole
a
film is
collection of
almost
it,
kind
yeah.
of sketch
Yeah.
yeah.
from start to finish. It's almost like it's like a play. It's scene one, scene
Yeah,
two, scene
yeah.
three.
Yeah, maybe that was the purpose. But yeah, and it's the same with the bull thing. You kind of get that. You get that bit, then he actually does what he's told and it works, and they lock the gate. Again, clearing up his mate's irresponsibility, because he was on. We've now left it under, didn't lock the gate behind him, which everyone knows the country code. and then it was like, oh bang, he didn't even like, help me pick up the bloody shopping or something, just that bit, and then it ends with them picking that up, and then they go to
Yeah.
the next bit. It was just like bam, next scene, bam, next scene, star wipe, I don't know. I feel like they missed a trick there that could have fleshed it out a little bit more and maybe shown his frustrations with him, maybe. Because do you ever use? Oh no, we'll get into that later on. But next bit, Paul. Sorry.
Okay, so later on that night, they hear noises in the cottage, and Withnail comes into Marwood's room, convinced it is the poacher out to get him. They cower together in the bed as footsteps climb the stairs and the door is opened, revealing Monty. And Withnail is furious. The next morning, Monty evidently has designs on Marwood to the latter's deep discomfort, but his hopes of making an escape back to London are dashed by Withnail, who is now enjoying himself and insists he wants to stay.
So again, there's no camaraderie there. There's
No.
no kind of. He doesn't even bother trying to explain or reason with Marwood. Let's just stay. Let's see how it goes. See what happens. Blah blah blah. It's just like, no, I want to stay. And
Yeah.
that's the end of it.
And I'll offer up my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's basically it, though, isn't it? And you get the suspense, I guess, of is someone breaking in or whatever, and then it's like, oh, hello, and then as soon as you know that, you know what's coming next, because
Yeah.
that's been set up earlier. Because it is almost set up, gag, like kind of formula to it, but don't know, I just could have done without all that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there was no surprise.
Yeah, I mean, you can get rid of. I mean, obviously, the fact, like you were saying, like what Paul was saying about, Withnail is quite happy to sacrifice his friend for a few more bottles of
Sherries.
the posh sherry and the
Yeah.
posh wine or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems like half an hour that just could have been trimmed down. This is like the one bit of all the things that happen. This is the one bit they really do flesh out, and it's just like we know what's going to happen. It's just.
Yeah.
The whole like with well, I'll get into that.
Yeah,
in a
we'll
minute.
go on to
I'm
let's go on to the
skipping
next
ahead.
part of the plot, and then
Yeah.
we can talk
Okay.
about
Yeah.
it.
So we've got Monty takes the pair to Penrith to buy some Wellingtons, and he gives them money, which they spend in the pub before causing a drunk scene in a tea shop, which was actually quite good. Over dinner, Monty continues to flirt with Marwood, and then that night, Withnail collapses into a drunken sleep. Monty pursues Marwood to his room, where he attempts to force himself on him, revealing that Withnail told him that Marwood was a homosexual. The terrified naked Marwood has to invent a story about Withnail's obsessive love for him to get rid of Monty. So again, the tea room bit was probably one of my favourite scenes.
Yeah, that's why I used it in the quote at the start,
Yeah.
because it is funny. There's no getting around that. It's funny.
And that's the sort of thing, if we'd got a bit more of things like that with the obnoxiousness, because you've got the obnoxiousness of Withnail, the uncomfortableness of Marwood, but is finding it funny and going along with it, in comparison to, I guess, society in
Yeah.
speech marks with the people in the thing in the tea shop. You know, that stuff works, and it worked really well. So they should have done more of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the comedy in this film is actually more when they are interacting with other people, other
Yeah,
characters outside of their normal. So, you know, actually, no, including Danny. To be fair, there's humour there, and there's humour in the pub at the start of the film. There's humour in the tea shop, and there is a little bit of humour in the earlier pub scene when you got the drunken ex major or whatever he is. Who I couldn't help thinking of 40 Towers when I saw him. To be fair,
The only thing with the tea shop scene is, and this could be just me, is that for me, Marwood went along with it just a bit too easy compared to every other scene in the film where he's almost, Withnail's off doing his own thing and he's almost there
yeah,
going.
Well, Marwood is sort of saying, "Come on, let's just go."
Yeah, but then he gets really into
yeah, but this
it.
is the bit where this is their common ground. See, he's really into it. They're playing about. They're having a laugh, and that's the bit he can hack. It's then when he goes further.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's the with now he likes, and then he takes it even further.
Yeah.
And that's when it becomes a problem. And you know, like if whatever he may have done next, might have done no weed on the table and the shot. That would have been when he was like upset with it or whatever. And it's that kind of thing. It's reminded me of when we done that all you can eat challenge.
Yeah. So it's all funny until you're vomiting up ice cream.
Yeah.
That poor family's meal. But yeah, but that was again, that was a good bit. And then obviously we get the social class commentary at the end with Uncle Monty and wanting his wicked way, I guess, with Marwood, and then it turns out that Withnail's kind of said a whole bunch of stuff and set him up for it.
So with this whole, I mean, it's hard to use the word subplot because there's not really a plot to this film, let alone there being a subplot. But the whole subplot with Monty having designs on Marwood and his whole backstory, it's like, is there actually any need for it?
Yeah.
At all, to be fair, you know, the only thing I can think of is they needed a plot device to allow those two to have a country
show the
house.
richness. Yeah. But did they need a country house?
They need, it has to be them going away.
That's true.
So what do? It's 1969.
They're poor.
You know, Ibiza isn't Ibiza at the moment. It's a nice family place. Well, actually, it still is a nice family place if you go to the other side of the island. But you know what I mean. You know, it's not. You know, Butlins is barely a thing at the moment. So where can they go? So they go to the go up
Maplins.
Yeah, that would be a crossover worth seeing, wouldn't it?
Ted Bovis would have nutted him.
But I mean, you could still show the fact that Marwood Withnail comes from money without having the sort of the almost homophobic subplot of Monty.
Well, is
trying to force himself on people.
Is this the public schoolboy kind of?
Yeah.
You know, like that's what they're all like. Is it almost gone the other way now, where we're now going full on and insulting people like that? And you know, if you went to,
I mean,
posh
you'll
schools,
have to Google
like.
it yourself because I decided not to put it in this podcast because it's almost libelous. But it's been said that he based the Monty character on someone, and that's why it's in there. And the same, there's some newspaper headlines and a little bit of dialogue that Withnail says about another, like this guy got this part because he was doing something with this director. So there's a couple of bits in there that are almost that he's now since said the.
I read that. Yeah, he based it when he was in Romeo and Juliet or something
like that.
He?
Yeah.
The director was.
Yeah, so you'll have to look that up
The
yourself.
thing,
But
yeah.
you know, that's why it's in the book. But you know, does that necessarily need to be in the film? Because it's a very stereotypical idea of an older gay man from the 60s, isn't it?
Yeah, Predator.
Yeah. I don't know off the top of my head when it was no longer illegal, for want of a better term. I think it was sometime in the 60s, wasn't it?
Technically, I think it was later than that.
Was it? I
think
thought it
so.
was repealed sometime in the 60s.
remember.
Anyway, it's not important for this for this podcast.
1967,
There you go. So,
off the top of my head.
so a couple of years after this is set. But yeah, I don't necessarily think, and I think, as we said earlier, this would play out differently if the film was made today. I don't necessarily think the sneaking up to his room would have been a thing. It would have been probably a downstairs around the dinner table conversation rather than a.
Well, it's just how it's because it's kind of it's cringy carry on.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think the only difference was if it was done today in a similar vein, it would have been darker, and it would have been more predatory as opposed to what actually took place in the film.
Crazy uncle.
Yeah, or it would have been almost written out because it's just not PC. So if it was going to take place and film now, I think it would have been a lot darker.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, it'd be interesting to see what was allowed to. No, because there's been stuff around that time. It's 87, isn't it? I mean, it's set in 69. I don't know. Yeah,
Well, that's one of the things you do have to keep reminding yourself when you're watching it. It's an 80s film, so because they do a very good job with the aesthetics.
That's what I say. There's
There are a few
nothing wrong.
anachronisms in there about motorways and stuff, but
Although the other thing is, this is somebody's writing based on characters, and one of those characters, maybe.
so that may well be
Exactly.
as
Yeah.
it played out. I just think, like you said, Paul. I think if it was done now, it would be done in one and two ways. It wouldn't be the carry-on, laughing type way we see it in this film. It would either be a more subtle conversation downstairs, or a much more darker scene upstairs. I don't mean lighting. I mean the tone of it. So it's an odd one, and it doesn't necessarily work with the whole layout of the film. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean.
It's like the vibe of it, and it has everything. It just stands out too much for me.
Anyway,
but yeah.
So in the morning, Monty's gone. He's left a letter of apology, and then a telegram arrives. Marwood has an audition. The two pack up to return to London. En route, Withnail drunkenly makes time, i.e. speeds, while Marwood sleeps. They hilariously overtake a police van, and so they're picked up by the police. Despite Withnail's attempts to beat a drunk driving charge by using Danny's invention, they are held in the cells. Again, it's quite. Hang on, where are we? Yep. So I just didn't want to spoil your thunder by going on to the next bit, but it's not.
Right.
It's not in there. So again, the police cell scene is mildly humorous, but again, they could have done more with that.
Yeah.
Because again, it just I guess 1969. Maybe you were just sort of charged and then released, but.
Yeah,
Well,
but
drink driving wasn't as much of a thing.
No, obviously, yeah, of course.
Have
not.
a drink,
You're right, it
have a
wasn't.
drive,
Yeah.
go out and see what we can find.
But I thought he might have hit a couple of door frames on the way in or something.
I think they could have got a lot more comedy out of that
Yeah.
than they did.
Bizarrely, I've forgotten which one it is because it struck me now to look it up. But one of the police officers is the janitor in the lab where Cyborg is in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So he's actually probably been in bigger films than most people in that film now. But he's always like, Doctor Number 2 or something like that. But he was in Zack Snyder's Justice League. He was the janitor.
Well done.
You've
managed to get a superhero reference into Withnail and I.
It just bugged
I am
me 'cause I
impressed.
thought, I know that, I recognise that face from something, because in that he's about 20, and obviously he's about whatever now. I don't want to do the maths.
No, don't. That's not.
I don't do maths. But they're just, again, it could have been, you could have had the fingerprints, you could have had the...
Yeah, there's just lots of different ways you could have got comedy out of that, and you don't see Marwood in this piece at all. Sorry, it's just the door creaking.
I wasn't
Got
sure
caught by
whether
the
Sarah
wind.
was knocking.
Oh,
Come in.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, did they make the most of the scene?
No, I kind of, in all honesty, I think by this point the film is kind of starting to peter out into.
Yeah, I was well bored.
It's just coming to its natural conclusion, if you like.
Yeah. It was weird because I don't know whether I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt, and similar to some of the next scene, whether it was me just thinking, well, they're trying to make it subtly funny as opposed to laugh out loud or whatever. But again, if you the whole setup for this has been going on for about an hour with the invention of the baby or the kid piss, and you just kind of think, well, that's kind of a wet fizz. Where is the you've had the build up and now you haven't really delivered.
Yeah.
And then what happens?
So cool. Back in London, they find Danny and his friend, presuming Ed, in their flat smoking.
Presuming Ed was the pirate dude from Raiders of the Lost Ark, if anyone spotted it.
No, I didn't spot that.
In their flat, smoking a huge cannabis joint. Marwood reveals that he's been offered a leading role. As they smoke more of the drug, they become deliriously high, while Danny details his philosophy and his legal ambitions. Marwood packs to leave. Withnail insists on walking with him through Regent's Park. Marwood bids Withnail farewell, leaving him to recite Hamlet's speeches to a bunch of bedraggled wolves.
So this is obviously back when there was a zoo in Regent's Park.
Yeah.
There's not just some random wolves.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
He's really gone on that really posh bottle of wine and he's seeing wolves.
This bit I thought was really good
Yep, go on.
because it covers
Hold on,
everything.
which bit?
The flat bit,
Right.
because again Danny's in it, so it's a bonus for me.
Yep.
Presuming Ed was just that kind of. We've all been in those situations where someone's got like a really random friend and we don't know who they are,
Yep.
and they're just sat in the corner doing something weird.
Yep.
And
Yep,
you're like-
absolutely.
And I was like,
I've sometimes been that guy.
yeah, exactly. And if you haven't been in that situation, it was you.
Yeah.
And but I love the whole bit of Danny with his philosophy and that, and the whole bit about because there's the whole bit about haircuts as well, isn't there? 'Cause,
Yep. Yeah, don't cut your hair,
mate,
man.
he gets his hair cut.
Yeah.
But then he's on about being like his legal ambitions and that, and there was a whole bit, and again, I don't know if this is coincidence or not, but there's a whole bit on it would have been around that time. There was a Woodstock like documentary, because it was however many years it was since Woodstock it came out. Well, it might have been 90s actually, but there was a thing in that about like most of the people that went to Woodstock, once it got to the 70s, like cut the hair and were all lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was that sort of thing, and that's kind of obviously he doesn't know yet because it hasn't got to that point, and that he's got that whole kind of philosophy thing coming in, or you can see it's going that way.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean that again is another theme of the film, is that there does come a point in every person's life where they, for want of a better term, have to cut their hair and get a job. Do you know what I mean?
This is getting too close to me now.
But that's what it is. That's what this film
Yeah.
is kind of reflecting. Is it's the end of the '60s. That counterculture stuff is coming to an end. It can't last. There's free love, the summer of love, all that stuff can't last forever. They obviously didn't know it at the time in the '60s, but we're about to go through winters of discontent and all that sort of stuff. It has to end. That bubble has to burst, and you can't
You
just
gotta
spend your
suck it
life
up and
sat
do
on a
something,
sofa smoking weed for the next 40 years.
And the other thing, we spent, or you've been watching the whole film. We've got Withnail being the self-centered
Arsehole.
arsehole. Marwood gets the role, and I thought, this is going to go one way. Withnail's going to completely lose the plot, blow up.
Yeah, get arsey about it, basically. Yeah.
And to be fair,
No, we get the opposite.
Yeah.
It's that one sort of point of tenderness between the two of them, where it's actually quite a decent bit of acting on Richard E. Grant's side. On Richard E. Grant's part, that's where I was going. I generally have had too much rum and coke. You see his face. His face does go from that annoyed to genuinely pleased. It goes through that gambit of emotions in sort of 2 or 3 seconds. So that's the only point in the entire 140-minute runtime or whatever, 140-minute runtime, 1 hour 40-minute runtime, where you actually genuinely do see an affection from Withnail.
And at that point, Marwood, very rightly or whatever, he does the whole transformation piece. He gets himself cleaned up. He gets some fresh clothes on.
He's going to be a
change.
soldier, isn't he? Because it's the book he was reading, wasn't it? That was it. I forgot the book.
For the part he's going to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a soldier because he said, "Oh, you're going to have to cut your hair if you're a soldier."
Yeah.
So I'm just remembering.
So I thought you meant he was going off to be a soldier. No.
That's a different film.
He's reading. He's reading the book
he was
earlier
in
on.
the One-Eyed Mutineer or something where he played a soldier. That's Paul McGann. I think all 3 of them were in it. All 3 of the McGann brothers.
Calm down.
But for me, it's very much that splitting. So it's that realization that Marwood's gone off. Marwood realizes that I've got to change the way I am.
Yeah.
And also at the same time, which carries on through to the final bit, is you kind of get the sense that Withnail realizes that's it for him. He's not going to get a role.
I'm not. Well, yes, yeah, but I also think there's a realization that he's just not going to survive without Marwood. Whether he's going to get a role or not is,
no, it's very much.
He just cannot.
Yeah,
he cannot
can't
exist, function. He can't function without Marwood being his roommate, flatmate, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's almost like that bit in the Interview with a Vampire, where Lestat needs him, and then goes and finds him, or finds the Christian Slater to be.
Yeah, he needs his familiar.
Yeah,
but and this is the George and Lenny bit now. I think where he kind of Steinbeck's a Bison Man, where he's suddenly realising what could happen, which then. We can say it now, can't we?
Yeah.
Because in the original book that was never published, once you get the part bit and he does his soliloquy from Hamlet, and then to the wolves and that, and then he goes back to the apartment and gets Uncle Monty's gone and shoots himself.
Yeah.
And
It's a tiny little bit darker than that, apparently, in that he pours. He goes and gets the best bottle of wine that he can find. I don't know, he drinks half the bottle or whatever, but then pours some of it down the barrel of the gun and then shoots himself.
And then shoots himself.
So he's, sort of killing himself with the bullet and the alcohol. So,
which I think would have been a better ending.
It would have been a better. I think. I know. I agree. I think because that would then that would give you that kind of moment of almost a shock value, and then make you reassess everything you've just watched. Whereas,
but I think that's what it misses.
Yeah, because I think the ending is you don't know what happens to Withnail, and you can't, which is great in a way. You can make it up yourself, but in the same token, you want to see that tragedy. You want to see,
but again,
that
I think that's what
person be destructed.
I think that's how it gets lost on people, because you get all these people going, "Oh, we've all got to do a shot because he had a drink," or "Oh, he drinks so much," or "When they do that bit," and it's like you've missed the entire point of this film.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's why maybe it's not the film I don't like, it's the people that like it.
No, I agree with you. I think that's part of the problem. And because I have that with a lot of films.
Yeah.
Whereas,
I've had a lot of things.
I've never seen Trainspotting. And it's not because I don't think it's going to be it is a good film. I'm sure it is. But because everyone went on about it for so much, I can't bother to watch it. And I think, that's probably why I didn't enjoy watching Withnail again after, I don't know, 10, 12 years of since the last time I watched it, was because when I first watched it and in those intervening couple of years after it, I didn't know all this nonsense that surrounded it. Now I do know all the nonsense that surrounds it. I'm like, I can see.
Gives it a bit more context and a bit more.
The ponces that, walk into a pub and go, "I want the finest wines known to humanity." Fuck off, you twat.
Yeah. You don't even understand the film properly. Man.
Anyway, so that's how the film ends. Have we got any more to add to that before we just move on quickly to the legacy?
I just thought, in all honesty, it's a bit boring.
No, we've got to get to
so the legacy.
Yeah,
I thought you meant it for any more.
No, we're not finishing. Oh no, we're not finishing.
Cut about then. No, I haven't.
Okay, so we just quickly move on to legacy. I mean, there is a lot I could say about legacy. There's a lot of stuff online. I mean, it's been routinely regarded as being among the finest British movies ever made, and cited by several filmmakers since its 1987 release. It comes in our top 10 of numerous reader polls of like Total Magazine, Empire.
People that never seen it.
Yeah, quite likely, but
Yeah,
it's always
I
up
think
there in that
it's
list.
I think it's that War and Peace film, where everyone has to name it as one of the best ones,
Yeah.
but they've never read it.
Well,
or they've
like
never
any
seen
sort
it.
of early 1950s films, like
yeah.
the
Maltese
East of
Falcon.
Eden or the Maltese
East of
Falcon, or
East of Eden was good, but
yeah,
too
I know,
long.
but it's
I know what
like,
you mean. Now people
I've
say
seen
it, and they're like,
yeah.
"Yeah,
Or
I've
it's
seen that."
let's be honest. If the amount of people you spoke to said they saw Oasis at the Joiners,
Yeah,
Joiners is as big as Wembley Stadium.
yeah, and there was only like 9 people there.
Exactly. So, it's that kind of thing. So it gets listed, and we've touched on it already. But so there is a drinking game that's associated with the film, and the game consists of keeping up drink for drink with each alcoholic substance that's consumed by Withnail over the course of the film. In total, Withnail is shown drinking roughly 9.5 glasses of red wine, half a cider, 1 shot of lighter fluid. You can replace this with vinegar or overproof rum. 2.5 measures of gin, 6 glasses of sherry, 13 drams of Scotch whiskey, and half a pint of ale.
And that's going to be our live podcast next week. Where we
what's a dram? Is that one of
Shot.
the little glasses?
Shot.
Yeah.
large shot.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, yeah, all in all, I don't think that's a huge amount. It depends
I'm not saying a lot.
on
I mean, the whiskey, yeah.
yeah.
13
I guess
shots
if
of
you
whiskey.
were to do that over the course of, I think the film runs
half.
an hour and 40 minutes. So,
Yeah.
but
In an
we've been
evening.
known to over the course of a night drink probably equal amounts
I'd
of that.
certainly start off with the rum and not the vinegar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We
would
may have
substitute the
even
rum.
done the lighter fluid at some point.
But yeah, that's pretty much its lit. I mean, like I said, it is cited as one of the most loved British comedies of all time. Loads of directors have said they've referenced it, and
I know it is listed in the 101 films you will see before you die.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably at 101.
Yeah, and you can spot it in a couple of. I didn't bother writing them down because, in all honesty, I thought I'd remember them, but I have forgotten. But there's been films very recently actually that you can see they've sort of shoehorned a reference in there just for it, just to kind of pay tribute, if you like, to
There
that.
was, years ago now, I've got it at home somewhere still. There was a magazine, it was like the Film Pub Crawl of London, and it had like the places, but it was all like where, and obviously Withnail and I was on it quite a bit, but it was all the like pubs in the films where they really were.
Yeah.
So you could go around, like that one was Withnail and I, and that one was, I don't know, Train Spot, and I know it wasn't in London. I'm trying to think. That was Lock Stock. That was, and half of them were all on the same roads and stuff, and all that. And it is one of those, because I think that pub is still there, the London one. Well, I think it's obviously different names or whatever now, and it's probably like a bistro or something now. But you can go in there, gastro pub or whatever, and might be a microbrewery nowadays. But those places are there, and they do well out of the fact that they still make a few quid out of the fact of their association with it. So good luck to them, especially in the current climate.
Okay. So then, final thoughts. Who wants to go first?
I will.
Go with them.
Started really good, got really boring, ended okay.
Yep. Do you know what? I can't disagree with that. Like I said, when I first saw it,
dragged in the middle of it.
I really enjoyed it, and I was really enjoying the first 10 minutes when I was rewatching it, but it almost become arduous, almost to the point where it was like, am I annoyed that I'm watching this because I have to watch it?
You picked it.
I know, yeah. I hadn't seen it for a long time.
I know, no.
But, it was literally, am I annoyed because I have to watch this, or am I annoyed because it's not as good as I remember it being?
Good point.
So, I think for me, I liked I liked Richard E. Grant and Paul McGann. I'm really impressed with Paul McGann. Particularly after as you said at the start, Scouse accent really managed to come back and deliver a really good role with the accent that he put on. I love their banter in a lot of the scenes. Richard E. Grant, I think, nails it as being that, probably in their own word, that toff.
Yeah.
That looks at the rest of the world as lower class scum, and also that the self-centered and
Sense of entitlement.
yeah, and I think he did that sterling job. There are good scenes in it, and I like the ending, and I like a lot of their interaction, but where the film meanders so much, you kind of lose what it could have been.
There is no plot to the film.
Yeah, but even their relationship together, because it has these really, as you both said, that they're almost stock scenes that go from one to the other without any segues or flow. You kind of lose the two's camaraderie or their bonding, and you don't. It doesn't have as much impact at that end, and it could have been really dramatic. Two friends that do have this bond and that they do have this need for each other, and they grow apart.
You get the almost the sadness that Withnail is losing Marwood, but it doesn't seem, to be fair, that much of a wrench for Marwood to leave Withnail.
Yeah.
Because throughout the entire film, he's just kind of annoyed by him anyway.
Yeah.
But we don't see that bit where he's like enough is enough. It's just like I've got a job. Okay, see ya.
That's what I mean. So you're not getting that. There isn't. It's not.
It's not
It's not
punctuated.
tragic for both players. It's almost kind of. It's actually a relief for Marwood.
And I think again that scene at the tea shop comes at the wrong place for me, because he's still with him. He's still
No, I think to me that's one of those bits where it's kind of like, oh, this is what it was like. This is when we're on the same page and we're having a laugh and it's fun. Before it goes dark.
It's almost
to me,
that's
it was
almost
a bit like,
Marwood's turning point. But we're not. There's no. Let's say it doesn't necessarily wrench Marwood that much.
Yeah.
You do get it in that bit where he's packing his suitcase and he puts his hat on. It's obviously there's pathos in that moment, but
it's almost I've got my role now. I'm off.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost just a kind
Call
of
Dad.
a regret that he spent this amount of time with now, rather than a sadness that he's leaving with now.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the fact that I think had the film ended in the same way as the novel ends, it would have packed a lot more punch.
Yeah, because it doesn't otherwise.
Yeah.
And it's almost that George and Letty road movie that didn't really have a road in it. And
it's kind of hard to do a road movie in the UK, to be fair, because after half an hour you've reached Edinburgh.
Yeah, but it would have been nice just see them in a few more interactions. I mean, Michael Alfick. I mean, I'm guessing because it was done on the cheap, maybe they could only afford him for like one day or something. But
but then it's 1987. It's
but
only 2 years ago later that he was doing.
Boone is going great guns at this point.
Is it? I thought Boone was 89.
3 up, 2 down.
Yeah, TV sitcoms don't pay as much as movies, so I don't necessarily think
that clearly would have done because it was massive. Now, Boone 86 to 95.
Oh, okay. I'll give you that then. Fair enough. But anyway,
but this film came out in 87.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Boone was out.
Yeah, but he was filming. He would have been filming
86.
86.
Yeah, right.
85, 86.
Right, it was in Superground in 85.
And there we have it.
Yeah.
And the Elephant Man.
Oh,
he was doing bigger
All
stuff.
right, you saved it with the Elephant Man.
Yeah, keep it that.
But
okay, so scores then. Ratings, I should say, not scores.
5.
5. Okay. Do you want to elaborate, or is it just?
No,
that's not a dig.
I'm thinking that now. 5, 6. Because again, I'll go with 6 because it's not that everyone in it is really good. The acting is really good. It's filmed brilliantly. You got all the stuff. It's just that kind of. I think this is an example of a director, because he was a writer and director, who's got a great story in his head. And to him, when he made this film, that story played out, but we didn't have all the bits that were in his head.
Yeah. Okay.
So to him, it's, oh yeah, I've got all my story down. This is really good. But actually,
which kind of goes back to what Paul said about on the page, you can say more, you can elaborate more, but on the screen, you need to.
It made sense. Yeah, it made sense to hear. Although I did laugh at I read a bit about the test screening. Did you read about the test screening? They got a whole audience in to watch a test screening, and no one laughed through any of it. And he was really panicking. And it turned out that the person who'd done it had brought in a group of German tourists who didn't speak English. So they just sort of sat there and didn't have a clue what was going on. So that would be a better film. But no, I don't know. Yeah, it's nothing wrong with the performances, nothing wrong with the thing. I just think that it was one of those examples of, someone's got the story in their head. They just haven't explained it that well.
Okay, fair enough.
On the screen.
6 glasses of sherry from me. Pretty much the same reasons. I think there's a good story there. It actually would make me want to read the book.
Yeah, I really want to read the book, but obviously unpublished. So,
and I just think if it was given a bit more, if you had a co-director to work with or bounce some ideas off, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, it's good. I can kind of see what he's doing. I got a lot of, where he was trying to go, I think. And from some of this conversation, I think it's quite clear. I just think it just kind of missed the mark. Yeah, as it were.
Fair enough. So it was my suggestion, my film to bring to the group. But even saying that, I think it's a generous 7. I think, as you said, the performances are really good, and I think there's some great quotable lines in there, and there's some really good scenes.
Yep.
But they don't gel.
Yep.
And the poor scenes are poor. It doesn't, the whole subplot with Monty isn't really necessary. It could have been something else. Maybe because of the time it's set and then the time it was released, that's why it plays out that way. I don't know, probably, but that just feels all a little bit weird, which knocks it down. And we know from our kind of experience of other films to look for these other things in the film, like the end of the 60s. Yeah. We know to look for that sort of stuff, and that's why we pick up on it. But as a general punter, you probably don't necessarily pick up on that, and it needed to be explained a little bit more, or not necessarily explained, that's not the right word, but more
context
to point you towards that.
We've just done you're right. We've just done a dissertation on it. You know what I mean?
Well,
and like most people,
to be fair, I did do a dissertation.
On it. That's fair enough. So I just found another little fact as well. Actually.
Go on, cool.
In 1992, David Fincher tried to do a recreation of the original cast when he did Alien 3. He got McGann and Brown on board, but Richard E. Grant turned it down, and Charles Dance took the role. So we could have had...
Yeah, we could have had Withnail in Space.
Yeah, with Brian Glover.
Yeah. A hero of cult.
That would have been awesome. But yeah, we didn't know.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's... Yeah.
Cool.
I just think having the ending from the original novel would have lifted it from a 7 to probably a 9.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Go full on Greek tragedy, if you like.
Yeah, very much so.
And that would have sort of hammered home the whole context of the film. That you're laughing at these people, you're laughing at what they're getting up to, but there's an undercurrent of deprivation and sadness.
You're Steinbeckian social commentary.
Yeah. Well done. So that was the Cult Faction Spotlight on Withnail and I, episode number 70. What are we doing next week? I think you're host next week, Mr. Hawkins, so...
It's your choice, Paul.
Hit us with your best shot.
So I thought Train Spot. No. So I have chosen a film, and for those listeners that weren't around and haven't listened to last week's show, we each get an opportunity to nominate a film that we all have to watch. We all have the power, though, of one veto.
One veto. Also, on that,
Oh.
if listeners want to nominate a film, we will take it into consideration or
Yeah.
add it to the list at the very least to get
Send
round
them
to it at
into
some
our
point.
contact details, which will be coming up shortly.
Yep.
And we only get one veto on that.
One veto every 6 months, I think we said, didn't we?
Something like that, yeah. Okay, so I haven't seen this film.
Oh,
You're
okay.
nominating a film you haven't
Yeah.
seen. Oh, that's brave.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to take you back to a young me in the days of VHS. And
Electric Blue.
so on Channel 4,
Uh-oh.
This is the band season.
I recorded Terminator. It was in the 80s. And at the start of the Channel 4 showing, you had the voice of a person introducing the film. But it's obviously gone through, like, talking about other films. And it then come on, I think it was Mark Commode. And then come on to introduce the Terminator. And now
Yeah.
we're going to have Terminator. The film that he was describing, David Cronenberg film,
Oh.
Ooh.
James Woods,
Oh.
I know where you're going
Yeah.
with this.
Debbie
Debbie Harry.
Videodrome.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm up for
That's
that.
the
Yeah.
film I'm nominating.
Not seen that for a
I
long
haven't
time.
I haven't seen it.
So you've never seen it?
No, I've never seen it.
I know,
I've
that
heard-
was during the Channel 4 band season.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I said, the band
Yeah.
season, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I remember. That's when
Obviously-
I watched it.
I've heard
Yeah.
lots about it, and
Okay.
I've heard it, mixed reviews. Some absolutely love it. Some say it goes off onto some weird,
Mm-hmm.
almost Nick Cage type surreal fest. But I just thought, whole purpose of this is to expand our minds. And I almost thought that Brett might have seen it, based on some of his dissertations in the past. But I thought that'd be a good one for us to take and have
Well, I
good
mean,
look at.
it's been a long time since I've seen it, so cool. Okay,
no
so
one's
then-
vetoing then.
No, absolutely not.
I'm not vetoing Videodrome.
Cool.
And it may be on the Arrow app.
Okay, I'm sure we'll find it if we haven't already got a
Yeah.
copy of it.
And if you are playing along at home, you can get it from Amazon Prime for £2.49,
Bargain.
Google Movies, and Apple TV £3.49.
To be
YouTube
fair,
for
without
£2.49.
preempting, it's worth the £2.49,
Oh yeah,
Cool.
100%. Okay, so you have been listening to episode number 70 of the Cult Faction podcast.
When it gets to 73, can we do that number 73?
No, because that would involve Sandy Toxford.
what's wrong with that?
Nothing else. Don't you remember? It was was it Bottom? It must have been Bottom. Or maybe in Bottom Live, actually, which I went to see a couple of times. He walked on stage. What's that
Yeah.
smell? Oh, have you been talking about Sandy Toxvig again? So ever since then, that's always popped. But I've got nothing against the woman. I think she's a really good host of QI and other things that she hosts on Radio 4.
And number 73 was
And number
classic.
73 was classic,
And
yeah.
Bake Off. Although in number 73,
I haven't really watched Bake Off since it
And-
moved, but
I liked her on Bake Off.
yeah, in number 73, she was called Ethel.
was she? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
they
I
had
remember she
names in
being
those
on it.
days.
But no, I think she's cool. I got nothing against the woman.
Was it Ethel?
Doesn't matter.
Or was it
Really
Sally?
doesn't matter.
No.
Oh, it does to me.
Do a TikTok video on number 73 and then
There you go.
you can get all the research done that way. Anyway, so you have been listening to number 70 of the Cult Faction podcast, Spotlight on Withnail and I. I have been and continue to be Damien Hicks. I've been joined by...
Paul Hawkins, and don't forget to check us out.
I haven't got to that bit yet.
Oh, okay. Paul Hawkins.
And I was Brett Summers.
Don't forget, you can rate and review us on your preferred podcast app. We would really like to get some Apple reviews because that's the main badger of the podcasting world, and it will help us climb those charts. If you want to get in contact with us or suggest a film we should be reviewing, or say something about Withnail and I that we completely bypassed and went over our heads, you can contact us at
Cultfactionpodcast@mail.com or leave a message on one of the other services.
or you can go to our Twitter feed.
Well, I didn't know what you were going to come in with. The mothership.
Oh, that's right. Normally you build it out and then you go, or you can get all of our stuff out.
Yeah, but I thought Damien was going to do that bit.
Well, you didn't give me the chance to do that bit. I just wanted the email address. Don't forget, everything Cult Faction is on the mothership.
Cultfaction.com, all our social media links, all our news, reviews, and everything else, and videos. You can get it all on there.
Cool. Nothing more to add other than it's a goodbye from me.
It's good night for me.
And I've got really bad deja vu.
Superman.
Roxanne! A year has passed since
You don't
I
have to
left my
pull on
nose.
no red light. Roxanne! You don't have to put on the red light. Roxanne! 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 I love it 'cause I knew ya.
I'm not hearing you.
No.
Oh, I am now.
You hearing me now?
Yes.
I can
Can you
hear
hear me
I
now?
can hear you now. He's bought them and he's dropped them.
Ouch.
Da-da-da-da-da.